Hey everyone, how are you guys doing tonight? I want to say thank you to everybody that's in here already. I just pulled up the comment section and there is a lot of you already here. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. Before I get started, I do want to say a couple of things. The first being that, again, this is always recorded. So if you're not able to stay for the whole thing, you can always come back and watch it later. And the other thing that I wanted to say is for those of you that would like to see a pre-recorded Q&A, I will be doing one of those in a week or so as well. So be aware that I will be doing both formats. But I do want to say thank you to all of you who are here tonight. And I'm going to go down the comments like I have done in the past and just start reading them off. And feel free to ask as many questions as you would like. And I'll be happy to answer as I can. So hello, Ashley. How are you doing tonight? Hello, hello. And same to Rushing Wind Mountain. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate that. And excuse me, I'm going to cough real quick. Sorry about that. Hello, Donna. How are you doing tonight? Donna says hello, everyone. And we have Debbie Ledbetter from Kentucky. Thank you for being here. And Rushing Wind Mountain is saying hello to Debbie and Donna and to Ashley. And Carrie Ann, how are you doing tonight? Carrie Ann says hello. I'm going to try to participate, but she is at work. Hope you are doing well and that you got your care package. I did. Thank you very much for that, Carrie Ann. I very much appreciate everything that you sent. And I will show that in this week's video. And Lonnie Poe, how are you doing tonight? Lonnie's coming to us from Parkton, Maryland. And JR says, hello, party people. Hello, JR. Thank you for being here. And Debbie Ledbetter says hello to Rushing Wind, Donna, and Lonnie. And Carrie Ann says hello to everyone. I work at a hospital. I am here as much as I can be for tonight. Yes, please, you know the protocol. Don't get in trouble for participating if you cannot. I totally understand. And we have Cranky Aunt Linda here, one of my favorite aunts. And Cranky Aunt Linda says, hi, Alone. Glad you had fun with your friends and family, but I'm glad to see you back. I'm glad to be back too. I really appreciate it. That you guys were also patient with me while I was away for the month of August. And Rushing Wind says, hello, Alone. First time here. Well, welcome, welcome. We appreciate you. Not only myself, but I know those in the community love to see new people show up as well. So thank you very much. And Cranky Auntie Linda says, oh, before I forget, I changed my name to Cranky Aunt Linda just because I could, right? That's the way to do things. And we have Rob and Sarah here from Curmudge Inn who says, hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing good. And Ira Handworker says, hello, Alone. And all my long lost friends, so happy to be in this group. Well, we're happy to have you here too. And we got some salutations going back and forth between everyone here. We'll just go through all those real quick here. And JR is saying good evening to Ashley again. And Rob says, sorry, we'll be in and out. I'm about to roll out some pasta and get it cut for cooking. Oh, that sounds awesome. Homemade pasta. I haven't had that in forever. My former mother-in-law used to make homemade pasta and it was delicious. Mike G is coming to us tonight from BC, Canada. Hello, Mike. And we have Tiff from Original Six here. Hello, everyone, she says. Hello, Tiff. And Randy Weedman says hello. Hello, Randy. And hello to Pauline Parker. And Norm says, hi, all from Henrico County, Virginia. Well, hello, Norm. Thank you for being here tonight. And Panhandle Off-Road Ranch says hello from North Carolina. So glad you could be here. And Brenda Hones saying to you, who says hello from Minnesota. Looks like there we go. I was going to say my clicker is not working. And we have Martina L, who says hello from Cape Cod. Hello, Martina. Thank you for being here tonight. And same to you, Kathy Barron. And Ashley is saying hello to Original Six. And Dennis Overholt, how are you doing tonight? Dennis is coming to us from Westerville, Ohio. So glad you could be with us. And we have Wayne Sperlin, and he says, be who. I'm not sure what that meant, but hello to you, Wayne. So glad you could join us. And Scott P, same to you, coming to us from Australia. So nice of you to be here tonight. I know that it's got to be midday for you, I believe, for you right now. So thank you for joining us during your lunch time. And Kathy Barron says hello from Michigan. And Pauline's coming to us from Florida. And Colorado Pack Rat Prepper says howdy. Glad to see you. We're glad to see you too. And Rose Grace says, just found your channel 45 minutes ago. Love the channel. Well, thank you, Rose. I appreciate that. I appreciate you joining the live tonight as well. And hello, Antu at Aussie. How are you doing? She says, hello, Alone. Good to see you. Greetings, everyone. Well, hello, hello. And Pauline is getting a hello from Rushing Wind. And Colorado Pack Rat Prepper says, glad to see you. I knew what you meant. And Ashley says, hello to Aussie. And Copper Penny says hello to all. Hello, Copper Penny. Nice to see you here tonight. And Cindy Mayhew, who is coming to us from Taos, New Mexico. I do love Taos. Taos is quite the location. If you have not been there, it's someplace that I think everybody should see. It's beautiful. And Tiff is saying hello to Ashley and Rob. And Randy is saying hello back. Wayne Sperlin says hello from Denver, North Carolina, and have a great night. Well, thank you, Wayne. So glad you could be here. JR is making some salutations along with Donna. And we have Bill from Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead here tonight who says, hi, everyone. And hi to myself. Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you for being here. And Charles O'Neill, thank you as well, who says hello, Alone, and everyone else. And Urban Bucket Homestead is also saying hello. And I'm going to skip over a few here because they're just salutations. We have Jill K, who says hello to Alone and everyone. Thank you, Jill, for being here. Oh, Donna says, so good to see you, Alone and Kenai. Big hugs. Well, thank you very much, Donna. We appreciate that. And big hugs back to you. And SKS Hugo says, good evening, y'all. Well, hello, SKS. So glad you could join us again tonight. And Lonnie says, hope you have good weather. We've been having nearly 100 degrees for 3 days now, and it stinks. I would think so. The 100-degree weather would be quite unbearable, I think, for most people, not just myself, but for just about anybody. Here, it's been rainy and windy for the last, I don't know, dozen days or so. And right now the winds are kicking up. I couldn't tell you what the temperature is, but it's not too cold out there today. Yesterday was a little bit chilly, and it's been rather cold here. But right now it's kind of comfortable, actually. And Bill is making some salutations to Antoine Aussie and Ashley. And Dee Stu says, hello, Alone. Hope you're doing well, and hello all. Well, thank you, Dee. We appreciate that. And I am doing well. Thank you. And Just Because says, hi, Alone in remote Alaska from Just BC in Onalaska, Texas. Well, thank you for being here, Just Because, or Just BC. I appreciate that. And if it's not just because, just know that I apologize. Sometimes the brain kicks in before the mouth kicks in before the brain is what I meant. And Bill is saying hello to Rob. And then we have our favorite comedian in the house, Ed over at Mountain Mariner Off Grid, Alaska. Say hello to Ed as Ed says hello to everyone. And be sure to check out his channel along with Bill from Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead and Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn. And James B says hi from Tennessee. Well, hello, James. Thank you for being here. And Jill K says that she forgot to say she's coming from Texas. Well, thank you, Jill, for joining us. And Matthew Kelly says, so I'm alone in remote Kentucky. Besides the cold, what's your biggest challenge? Biggest challenge? That's a good one. Right now, it's getting firewood is my biggest challenge so far. I ordered my firewood early on before summer even started. And unfortunately, my firewood dealer has had some mechanical issues. And so they've had a hard time getting their wood deliveries once they got those resolved, shipped out. But I did speak to them this week, and they will be making the first of the deliveries this week. So I will be getting at least 3 cords, which is good because I think in a week beyond that, I'll have snow on the ground. So I would say that, yeah, probably just getting firewood and the cold itself. But to me, I actually like the cold. The cold to me is a blessing. It's the heat of summer here, which kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't ever expecting it to get as warm as it has. Last summer, so the summer before this one, there was about 3 days where it got incredibly warm. But this summer, almost all of July and August were in the high 70s, and it was way too warm for my liking, that's for sure. JR says hi to Bill over at Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead, and Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn says, let me get this pasta rolled out, cut, and I'll be right back. Well, take your time, Rob. I know how it is when you're in the middle of making dinner. You got to get things tended to right away. So no worries. Ira says, we survived hurricanes here in South Georgia, only some branches down and a chair that broke in half from the wind. Oh my goodness. Well, I am so glad that you and your mother are safe. And I hope that your mom is going to be okay. Ira's mom is unfortunately not doing very well at the moment, but Ira thankfully is there to help take care of her. So we appreciate you being here with us tonight, Ira. And let's see here. Chip Mir is here, and Chip says, good evening, Alone from Colorado. Well, hello, Chip. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. And Ashley says, Alone, have you got any firewood yet? So as I just mentioned, not quite, but I should have some at the end of this week. But to be honest, I have probably about a quarter of a cord or just over a quarter of a cord of wood on hand. So if I needed to light a fire right now, I could. And I could make that stretch out because during the shoulder months, I go through basically half a cord a month during the month of October. And then also like March is about the same. But as the temperatures start to drop more and more steadily, I'll go through more and more wood, of course. During the coldest time of the winter, I'll go through about a cord and a half in a month. So hopefully those 3 cords are followed up soon by some other wood deliveries. And let's see here. JR says to Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead, get all your dirt rearranged. So Bill has been busy building a cabin by himself, and he's got lots of work ahead of him. And it sounds like he's got some dirt work that he needed to get moved around. And Pauline is saying hello. And Martina says, I'm so glad that you started earlier when it's 9 p.m. here on the East Coast. Thank you. You're welcome, Pauline. I actually thought about moving the live stream to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I didn't know how that would work out for the majority of you. So if that is something that would work for everyone, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to start it even earlier in the day. But again, I will only be doing live streams once a month, I think, for the time being. If things change, I'll increase it. But for now, I think just once a month I'll do it. And that way it's not so repetitive week after week. And, there might be a chance for things to, I don't know, occur between now and then that could spark some more conversation. So, and thank you, Bill, for putting up Rushing Wind Mountains channel link. So be sure to check them out if you have not already. And Ira Handworker says, getting a fall garden in, still picking bumper crop of eggplant peppers and hope your garden was good. So I neglected my garden. I got it in the early spring, but it is still producing. And so I'm thankful for that. And I'll be showing how my garden is doing actually in this week's video as well. And AFJ, how are you doing tonight? AFJ says, peace and blessings to you alone and all in the chat. Well, thank you. Peace and blessings back to you. We appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here as well. And Donna says, Alone, you look very rested. Oops, I keep clicking on that. Sorry about that, Donna. And it looks good on you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I probably have been sleeping in a little bit longer than I probably need to, but I do feel really rested. And I have to admit that taking the month of August to travel with friends and family was probably more needed than I realized. But it was very good to have everybody here. And Bill has put up Rob's channel link over at the Curmudge Inn. So be sure to check out Rob and Sarah and see what they're up to in the Talkeetna area. And hello, Diana. How are you doing tonight? Diana Lickenwaller's with us. And she says, hello, or hi, everyone. I've missed you. Well, thank you, Diana. I've missed you too. And I need to catch up with you. I've got some emails to send you or to respond to. So when I was responding to comments this week, I started going back and back and back. And I saw, oh my goodness, I haven't responded to comments in a month. What was I doing? And then I realized, oh yeah, I was traveling. So I've got lots of comments and emails to catch up on. So if you've sent me anything and I haven't responded, I do apologize, but I will get to you all in due time. And Diana says, Colorado weather was upper 90s for almost a week. Wow, that's really warm. But it was August. And I remember one year back in Colorado where it was 90 degrees one day and the next day it was freezing with snow. So you just never know in Colorado what you're going to get. And Norm says it's still 95 degrees here in Virginia. That is a warm day for sure. And JR is saying hello to Onto It Aussie. And Diana says, we are in the home stretch for getting our house on the market, definitely by the end of the month. Fantastic. I know that you're really looking forward to getting that new piece of property and being off grid yourself. And I apologize if you can hear Kenai behind me, who is preening himself at the moment. He's giving himself a bath. Bill says hi to Ed. And Martina says, have you done your big food grocery shopping or big food shopping before winter yet? No, I have not. I will be doing that in a couple weeks time and stocking up. But I was doing a precursory check of things that I need to stock up on. And really, I still have a lot of food left over from the summer shopping that I did. So it looks like mostly I'll be buying produce that I didn't grow here or that maybe didn't result in a whole bumper crop for me. So mostly it'll be produce with a few random things. But I won't be buying as much as I did in the years previous, which is good because really I think I spent thousands of dollars, over the last couple of years just rebuilding my pantry and everything. So I feel very comfortable with where things are at in the pantry, but thank you for asking. And Bill has thrown up Mountain Mariners Off Grid Alaska channel link, so you can go out and check out Ed and see what he's got going on. And Connie Shannon, how are you doing tonight? Connie says, hey guys, click that like button. So good to see you again alone. Thank you, Connie. And thank you for reminding everyone to hit the like button. That does not only help my channel and the live stream get promoted, but it also helps to recommend content from YouTube that you might like by other content creators as well. So thank you for that. And Scott P says, your helicopter flight looked amazing. How far ahead did you need to book that? What is the approximate cost for a similar flight to the one that you did? So the flight was out of Valdez. It was basically an hour and a half long flight. So it wasn't real long. In fact, it went by really, really fast. As far as how far in advance did it get booked? Whew. I didn't actually book it. A friend of ours, a mutual friend of mine and my friend from Colorado had booked that for us as a gift to both of us. And I think that they booked that flight, goodness, I would say probably 2 weeks in advance. So not too far in advance of the flight itself. And I don't know what it cost, but I can tell you that it probably wasn't inexpensive because last year when she was here and we did the flight, the plane flight over the glaciers out of McCarthy, I think that one cost us like $275 a person. So that was about $500. And I think the helicopter ride is more expensive, but I couldn't say with 100% certainty on what it cost. But I would say that you're probably looking at anywhere between $700 and $900 for a helicopter flight. It could be more though. Like I said, I didn't ask. I was just graciously the recipient of that helicopter flight. But I am glad that you liked it. And it is something that if you're not afraid of flying and it's something that you would like to see the glaciers up close, I definitely think it's worth it for sure. And Pauline says, the weather has been unbearably hot. I can't be outside for very long. I need to start my fall garden, but it's just too hot. That is one thing that I was thinking about with my garden is I wish that we had longer seasons here so that I could do a fall garden. But as it turned out, at least from what I'm gathering from my experience this year, is that I need to start my seeds sooner and get them outside sooner, maybe even under some cover. And if I'm going to do fall crops, I need to start them basically in July. And because, like I said, I'll have snow in 2 weeks. So it doesn't give me a whole lot of growing season here for sure, especially without a greenhouse or a high tunnel to be growing things in. So good luck on getting that fall garden in though, for sure. And Sherry says, my first live, Texas here, 103 today, and will be 108 by the end of the week. Yikes. I have watched your channel for over a year and really love seeing your independent spirit. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. I'm sorry you're having to experience such high temperatures. So I hope that you will manage through those and everything will work out for you there in Texas. But I do appreciate being here on the live. I really like to see new faces here. And let's see here. Living in the Sticks says, hi, Alone. Just love you and your channel. Did you have any reservations about moving to Alaska all by yourself? I would say not really. I'm pretty independent. I've been that way my whole life. I used to just take off in my car. As soon as I got my driver's license as a teenager, I would take off and disappear for, a full 24 hours by myself without giving it a second thought. Um, I think if I had any reservation about what I was doing, it was just when I was looking for property, making sure that I found the right piece of property for me, because I knew that once I moved here, I wasn't going to be wanting to move again. And I had been looking for property for quite some time, a decade or longer. And there was a lot of property that I saw, some that I got my hopes up on. Um, Even well before I was really prepared to move. But in doing all the research that I did about Alaska, I would say that that's where any apprehension came from was, is that going to be the right piece of property? How would I get out there? How would I get all my belongings out there? Because a lot of the property I was looking at was truly remote property that wasn't on the road system. And I just knew that I wasn't going to be the one to make that a lifestyle for myself. So I would say, if anything, that's it right there is, um, just making sure that I knew what I was getting myself into. And even with this piece of property, because it needed the new roof on it when I first moved in, um, I made an offer on the property before I had someone look at the roof. Even though I tried to get someone out here to look at the roof, I figured if worse came to worse, I could fly up a roofer from the lower 48 and pay retail prices for materials if need be. And in fact, that's what, when I've tried to get work done out here since then, that's what's been suggested to me is just fly somebody up from the lower 48 because you're not going to get anybody to do that work out where you're at. So if it ever comes down to it, that might be the route that I go for future projects, such as I need to have some electrical work done here at my property. I did have an electrician come out to my property and give me a bid. But then when it all came down to it, the electrician was so busy, he didn't have time to come out and do my job because he actually does big commercial type electrical work. And so when my son was here, he and I got to be talking about it, and he said, well, I'll come out and do the electrical work that you need. Luckily, my son has electrical experience, even if he isn't a licensed electrician. He deals with electricity in large scale capacity every day. He's put in substations for the electric company back in Colorado and what have you. So he's qualified to do the work that I need. So he'll just be coming back up here at some point to actually take care of my electrical needs. But yeah, finding the right person to do the work and finding the right piece of property are probably the two biggest challenges that I've had regarding apprehension here in Alaska. And JR is saying, Sherry Richardson, we had those temps 10 days ago in Oregon. Yikes, it's been warm everywhere, it seems like. Ashley says, any wildfires near you at the moment? I don't know. I know that there were some wildfires in Delta Junction and elsewhere within Alaska. At one point, there was like almost 350 wildfires or something like that in Alaska, which is far less than it has been in years past, which is kind of surprising considering how dry it was here. But there hasn't been any that are near me that I'm aware of. And I'm very fortunate to that. But one thing about where I live in comparison to other parts of Alaska is that this part of Alaska has not been affected by beetle kill. So any of the dead trees that we have are caused by permafrost, and we really don't have the beetle kill that other parts of Alaska have. So the other thing is there, while there are lightning strikes in this area, um, they don't seem to be as prevalent as they are in other parts of Alaska, which is kind of interesting because where I live is a bit drier than the rest of the state. So, but luckily, no wildfires here. And Ira says, thank you for your prayers for my mom. Very much appreciated. You are welcome, Ira. I hope that she pulls through everything with flying colors and has a speedy recovery. And Ed says, helicopter is $800 an hour, 1 hour minimum. Well, there's your answer then. So if we were there for an hour and a half, then, that's about $1,200 for that ride. So pretty expensive helicopter ride. Luckily, I have a friend that obviously felt gracious enough to do so, because I couldn't have done that on my own for sure. Jim in Alaska says, good to see you back. Did I miss your job search or update on a job? So possibly, Jim, while you were back in the lower 48, I had decided to do YouTube as my full-time employment. So taking this month off was kind of stressful, at the same point that it was relaxing, because I knew that I wasn't putting out any content and what have you. But luckily I had, knew that everyone was coming out, so I kind of prepared for that in advance. But yep, YouTube is my full-time job. I decided not to go back in the job market just yet, and I'm not sure that I will. Luckily, when I moved here, I was able to use a lot of the proceeds from the sale of my house in Colorado to buy this property, and also to take care of some of the other bills that I had and the things that I knew that I wanted to do on this property. So my outgoing expenses, I'm able to manage those really, really well. And my YouTube income covers those for the most part. So luckily, I'm not in jeopardy of having to go back into the job force just yet. But also for everybody, Jim in Alaska has a channel here in YouTube land as well. And Jim has been doing a property search himself. So hopefully, Jim, knocking on wood, will find property very, very soon. And Ed says an hour. He's correcting a typo there. And Sherry says hello to JR. Glad you made it. Yeah, through those high tips. And Lee, how are you doing? Lee Batchletter says, hello, everyone watching from Maine. Well, thank you for being here, Lee. Diana says to Sherry Richardson, I die in that heat. You probably have humidity to go along with that heat. Oh, yes. And that would be doubly worse, in my opinion. And Robin Palmer says, I binge watched your videos and can't wait for more new subscriber. Well, thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. And I do love it when people tell me to binge watch the channel. That's always a good sign. So thank you, and thank you for being here in the live. Ira says, loved your travels with friends and family. Such spectacular scenery. Yes, and the camera does not do it justice. If you have an inkling to come to Alaska and travel Alaska, I definitely recommend Denali National Park. It wasn't at all what I was expecting it to be. And I highly recommend that bus tour. Like I said, my son and his girlfriend and brother, they had traveled through Denali as well, but they did not do the bus tour. And they were there late in the day and early in the morning, but again, only went in those 15 miles, and they didn't see any wildlife whatsoever. So the bus tour is definitely where it's at for sure. And Matthew Kelly says, that's always a big deal. Firewood is crucial. Warmth is life. How are you doing for food? And can I send you some jerky or even better chocolate? You are more than welcome to send me stuff if you would like. I won't say no, but I will say that I do have a fully stocked pantry. My freezers are stocked full. I actually need to can up a lot of the things that are in the freezers. But candy's always good, but my preference would be caramel, chewy caramel to be exact, over chocolate. So, but thank you very much. And Steve, how are you doing tonight? Steve says, hi alone. Hello, Steve. And Betty K says, so happy you took time for yourself. Happy yourself, family, and friends. Well, thank you, Betty K. I appreciate that. And glad to see you again. And JR says the videos are addicting. Well, thank you, JR. I really appreciate that. Carrie Ann says, any fires near you? Hope not. Today it was in the 90s here in Ohio. Did you get your care package? Yes, I did, Carrie Ann. And as I mentioned earlier, there are no fires near me, thank goodness. And Scott says, Mountain, thanks for your helicopter answers. Do you know how much the price differs for the number of people, namely one or two persons? I know that, well, I don't know like what the cost is per person. I'll let Mountain Mariner answer that question. But I do know that on our helicopter ride, there were four people. So there was myself and my friend, and then somebody that we weren't acquainted with on that ride. So that is something to take into consideration as well, is that you might have an outside party with you if you go on one of those helicopter rides. And Diana says, I hope you had a great vacation and enjoyed your family. Thank you, Diana. I definitely did. Rushing Wind Mountain is saying hello to AFJ. And Ed over at Mountain Mariner says, snowshoe hare found my radish, ate all the tops off, ate all of them. Didn't miss a single one. Well, you know what? Something ate off the tops of my carrots, and I don't think it was a rabbit because, I have that area fenced in and I had the gate closed, but I do think it was a shrew. I think a shrew went in there and ate off all the tops to my carrots. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get any carrots out of that crop or not, but we'll see. And they didn't touch my radishes though, but all my radishes have gone to seed. I didn't get a single radish anyhow, but I grow radishes mainly for the seed anyhow, because it keeps, not the seed, but the plant itself keeps other insects away because they don't like the smell of the radish. So that's why I grow radishes mainly. And Claire says, happy to see your live chat. I have really loved your videos. You are a tough lady. Well, thank you very much for that. I hope that's good, in one way, but I hope I'm not too tough also. Onto it, Aussie says, your Tuesdays works for me as it is Wednesdays here. And I always do RDO. Well, that's good. That is good. I'm glad to hear that. And Sherry says, Diana, it's only around 40% humidity this evening, but that fluctuates. Yep. 40 is not too bad, but when it's 90% humidity and 100 degrees outside, that's miserable. Ashley Anderson says, what is the most participants you've had in a live chat? I would say congruent people chatting at one time. I think the most was 400 and something chats, messages, at a peak. But I'd say the chats, it's hard for me to tell. I would have to go back and look at some of the analytics. I think when I first started doing the chats, like probably a month or two into doing the chats, I probably had 1,500 people on one of the chats at one time. One of the live streams, I should say, at one time, with 400 and some comments in a peak in the comment section. But overall, my chat or my live streams get about 2,500 views after the fact. So those can come in over a week or 2 weeks after the live has aired. So they do get quite a bit of traffic, which is nice. And Lee says, you needed that, or you needed to do that for yourself. Yes, I did. I definitely needed to take that vacation. It was definitely something that was in ready to be done for sure. And Ed says, same price for 1 to 3 passengers. Price is the same, but everyone needs to be under 600 pounds. Yep. And they will weigh you when you get to the office of the helicopter ride. They'll weigh you, your backpacks, anything you're taking on the flight, that they'll weigh all of that because they need to make sure that they can accommodate the weight on the helicopter. And AFJ is saying hello to Rushing Wind Mountain. And Diana says to Sherry Richardson, we're moving to Minnesota. Oh, a decision has been made. We're moving to Minnesota, she says, so we won't get a lot of 90s where we're going. Yep, it'll be nice and cool, but oh my goodness, Minnesota. And it's cursing about the autocorrect. Damn autocorrect. Yeah, that's one of my least favorite things. Though sometimes I've thought about making a game out of it when I'm texting people on my phone and autocorrect changes the words. It's like, just choose whatever word randomly pops up and see if you can make any sense out of it. And hello, Eric. How are you doing tonight? So good to see you again. Eric says, hi, hello alone. I hope you are doing well. Thank you. I hope you are too. And I am. And Diana says, kiss Kenai for me. Gladly will do. He'll be more than happy to get all those kisses. And Brent Free, how are you doing tonight? Brent says hello, or she says hello alone, but I know she means hello. And greetings to everyone in the chat. And be sure to check out Brent's channel as well. Brent has a lovely channel there in Australia, and Onto It Aussie does too, but she has commented that she doesn't get to edit much because her kids are not walking her through it. So be sure to check both of them out. And Ira says, we have had heat indexes here in the 115 to 120 at times, finally a day in the 80s today. Oh, well, that's a lot cooler. I bet it's a lot more comfortable too. Yikes. And Sherry says, Minnesota is beautiful, to Diana. And JR saying hello to Brent Free. And so is Rushing Wind Mountain. Matthew says, bourbon balls are a staple in the fall in Kentucky. Interesting. So I bet that's like the chocolate truffles that I've seen people make in the past. It sounds like it would be a rather rich and decadent dessert for sure. And Anto Dusty is saying hi to Rushing Wind Mountains. And Ashley says, Ed, no joke. It helps because I can't spell, but it doesn't know what I'm thinking. At least I hope it doesn't. Oh my goodness. I was thinking about the, what is it called? Like the calendar reminders that you can set up in your phone or whatever. And it's still giving me the calendar reminders for the old live stream time because I haven't taken it off of there. But I was thinking, I sure hope to God that it never gets to a point where Google or the web or whatever can read your thoughts and automatically put calendar reminders in for things, because that would be spooky. Let's hope it never gets there. And Bren says to Rushing Wind, hope things are great your way. And Ray Barnes, how are you doing tonight? Ray says hello from Georgia. Thank you for being here. And Ashley saying hello to Bren. Diana is saying to Sherry, I can't wait to visit and see Minnesota before we move there. I've never been to that state, and we're talking about living there. Woo, that is brave. That is really brave. I think Diana should start a channel, to be honest with you. Diana is somebody that I have known for years. And it's kind of funny. When she and I got back in contact with each other, I was telling her that I've envied her for years because of the lifestyle that she lives. And she's telling me she envies me. So it's really hilarious. But I think she, of all people, should start a YouTube channel because she has so many hidden interests and so many talents that she would be a hoot to watch for sure. And definitely moving to a place she's never even been before. That would be something to follow along. Scott says, Mountain Mariner, I'm guessing you mean in total are 600 pounds. Lol, thank you. And Bren says, I don't know about that because, sorry, I'm going back to Scott's comment. Let's see here. I got to think about this. No, I think he means each person. Because if I weighed out every person that was on our helicopter ride, we were definitely over 600 pounds on that ride for sure. So I think he means in total of the person itself, but maybe I'm wrong. And Brent says to Antradasi and Ashley, Ira, hello to all of you. And Rushing Wind is saying hello to Ray Barnes. And hello, LJ. How are you doing tonight? LJ says, ooh, what a treat. You're live alone. Hi to all, and hugs and kisses to everyone. Well, hugs and kisses back to you, LJ. And thank you for being here. Really appreciate seeing you again. And JR says, hello and welcome to Ray Barnes. And Ashley saying hello to LJ, of course. And Sherry says, you will love it, but it does snow, Diana. Yes, it does. Diana's from Colorado, so she is all too familiar with snow for sure. And Ashley says, I've never flown. Well, Ashley, if you've never done it, it can be quite the experience. I, for one, believe it or not, am afraid of flying, though you wouldn't think it by seeing me get into that little it wasn't a two-seater, it was a six-seater plane over the Wrangell Mountains behind my cabin, or that helicopter. But I am actually afraid of flying. So the fact that I did it, I got to pat myself on the back. Rob over Curmudgeon Inn says, okay, back. Pasta bake is in the oven now. Well, let us know when it's ready and we'll all be there for a bite because I'm sure it's going to be delicious. Rob is quite the culinary chef. So be sure to check out his channel and see what they're up to, though he doesn't always show cooking, but when he does, it is quite phenomenal. And Rushing Wind Mountain says hello to Anto Adasi, and Rob is saying hello to FJ. Mountain Mariner says to Ashley, can you spell just fine by myself? He says, I can spell just fine by myself. That's hilarious. Peggy DeBoard, how are you doing tonight? And she says, hello from mystery location. We have no idea. But Peggy, thank you for being here. We appreciate it nonetheless. And Lee says, yes, that helicopter flight was awesome to watch. Well, thank you, Lee. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I tried to show as much as I could. I do have one other tip, though, if you are going to be flying on the helicopters. At least with the flight that I was on, this is what I found, is that when you first get on the flight, whoever's sitting in that front seat is going to switch seats with somebody from the back midway through, because they do land on one of the glaciers, and then you switch seats. But I also recommend that if you want the best photography out of that flight, that you sit on the passenger side of the flight, which is actually going to be your left-hand side, because our pilot favored that side of the helicopter. The helicopter was always tilted like that, but this being the passenger side, down, and that meant that the other side was up in the air. And I, on the second half of the flight, I sat on behind him, and so I had a hard time filming some things because he was typically had that side up in the air. So just keep that in mind if you're going to want to see the best view. Maybe be on the passenger side of the helicopter. And Ashley says, well, Antodasi was saying, what time is dinner, Rob? I'll just pop over for pasta. Yeah. And Ashley says, technically, I have, I guess, airborne in a car several times back in the day. Oh my goodness, Dirty Harry, look at you go. That's that is kind of funny, but also kind of not. Oh, poor Ashley. Rob says, right to Ashley, I think most towns have bump young people hit to catch air on. Lol. Yep. Definitely. Or that dead man's curve in every town that every kid takes at 100 miles an hour. Ashley says, Ed, sadly, I know exactly what you mean. And AFJ says, hey, good evening to Rob and Sarah. And Mount Mariner says, yes, 600 pounds is for the entire cargo load, passengers and bags. That's interesting. Because, like I said, if I think back about what I weigh and what my friend weighed, and then the pilot must have weighed and that other lady, I could swear we were over 600 pounds because there's no way that pilot and that other lady were under 100 pounds each. So let's just say that that's kind of shocking. Peggy DeBoard says, hello from Texas. My husband and I would love to see Alaska. Well, I hope you get to see it someday in person because it is absolutely stunning. Someone had left a comment earlier today that they said they don't understand why anybody would want to come to Alaska because it just looked marshy and buggy. And I agree that there are definitely places in Alaska that are very swampy. They kind of remind me of the South in some ways because of the marsh and the swampiness of it. But there's a lot of Alaska that is not that way. There's a lot of Alaska that is high and dry, and some of it's lush and green like Hawaii. Some of it is high desert. Some of it is glacial, as I've shown in some of my videos. And then you have places like Barrow, which can be both glacial and, um, marshy at the same time, because, the snow basically doesn't even melt off of there until the beginning of June. And then all of a sudden they're back in snow by September. So it's a hit and miss, but it is a beautiful, beautiful state. So I hope you get to see it in person someday. And Tiff over at Original Six is saying, do you have any indoor projects planned for the winter? Yes, I do. Actually, I'm still working on my kitchen, believe it or not. Like that kitchen is taking forever to get everything done that I would like to, but I am still working on projects in the kitchen. That kitchen counter I'm going to be finishing up here soon. And I have a special project that I will be showing in an upcoming video that I'm working on. And then I have the cellar that I'm working on as well. But I also have some other projects that I'm going to be doing, such as replacing the railing out in the lofts because those rails are not stable. They're not secure. I'm always afraid that the furniture or I are going to go to topple over them. And I have other projects too that I'll be working on this winter. So I hope that you guys will stick around and see all of that and see what I have up my sleeve as far as that goes. And Ashley says to Rob over Curmudge Inn, they changed most of our roads that had those, even the railroad crossings. Oh my goodness. They got wise to all the kids taking those bumps at 100 miles an hour. Cremage says to Antorasi, a quasi lasagna did not have ricotta, so I'm improvising, putting in zucchini from the garden. Oh, well, that sounds delicious still, nonetheless. And JR says, Alone's video number 22, info about buying in Alaska and other valuable information. Well, thank you again, JR, for putting that up. Yeah, that video is titled, Don't Buy Land in Alaska Until You Watch This Video. And I have to admit that if you want to see um, all the things to avoid, watch that video because it I'm basically talking about my experience and everything I did, and if I did it again, what I do. So if you're planning on moving up here, definitely worth the watch, I think, in my opinion. Even if I wasn't the one that did the video, I would think it's a valuable video to watch. And I'm trying to reach your uh, World is Vampire says, have you killed a moose yet? Not yet. There was a big buck that had been coming through in the month of July through the yard, and I was hoping that he was still going to be around but he has long gone. I have not seen any trace of any moose in the last week. And I wasn't planning on going very far to go moose hunting at all, but moose hunting is definitely in my future. I don't know if I'm going to be going caribou hunting in October. I don't know if they're going to open up the federal hunt or not. If they do, I might go caribou hunting. But I know the state was having issues with the caribou hunt. The herd size is really down this year. The feds had actually shut down the federal caribou hunt earlier, and I don't know if they're going to reopen it. And even the state had limited it to 750 heads taken, and once they hit that number, they shut it down. So I believe the caribou hunt is over. In fact, I know that it's already closed for the state because they close it September 1st through October 1st. But I don't know if the feds will open theirs back up or not. So hunting is definitely in the future. And Bren says to Rob, you have pasta bake. Imagine my favorite thing to eat with garlic breadsticks. That sounds delicious. Since I don't eat garlic, due to an allergy, I just salt my bread and treat it like it's garlic bread. And it's just as good, in my opinion. I don't miss the garlic on the bread whatsoever. Just the salt is enough to satisfy that craving for garlic bread. And Lee says, hotter than Hades here in Maine, too. Yikes. I would never think that Maine got that hot. But again, like I said, I never thought Alaska did either. And Rob says, I modeled out electrical systems like my sailboats had, easier for me to deal with. I modeled out electrical systems. I don't know exactly what that's in reference to, Rob, but please let me know. And Two Bears, how are you doing tonight, Two Bears? Two Bears says, hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well, Two Bears. And it's good to see you here tonight. And Alaska's Last Frontier says, way too wet this summer for any wildfires in South Central, Anchorage, Wasilla, greater area. That is why there hasn't been as many in years past. That is true. The Anchorage and Wasilla area, as he was talking about, they got more rain this summer than you would even believe. I think for the 5 days of rain I had before these last, 2 weeks of rain, I would say those 5 days of rain I had is all the days of sunshine they had in that area. It's basically rained all summer long in Anchorage and Palmer, Wasilla. So just way too much rain for them. And Jim says, hello to Ashley. Are you doing good? And Rob is saying hello to Jim, and JR saying hello to Two Bears. Brent says, can someone catch me up? Did Alone get her wood delivery? No, Bren, I did not, unfortunately. Not yet, but it is expected to start this week. So that is at least good news. And let's go through some salutations here. JR is saying, nope, not yet, in answer to Bren's question. And Bren is saying hi to Bill and JR. And Ashley says, Jim, kind of on the warm side at the moment. Otherwise, otherwise good. That is good to hear, Ashley. Thank you. And we have Adam and Phyllis in, and this is from Alaska Cut the Cord. Thank you for being here. And they say hello and alone and everyone. So Adam and Phyllis had their live stream last night. It was a lot of fun to watch. And right before them, Rob and Sarah had theirs over at Curmudge Inn, and also a lot of fun to watch. So if you have the chance on Monday nights to catch theirs out, Rob's and Sarah starts at 4 p.m. Alaska Standard Time, and Alaska Cut the Cord is immediately following theirs at 5:45 p.m. Alaska Standard Time. But both great channels and great live streams to watch as well. So be sure to check them out if you have the chance. And Ira says, is your region prone to any earthquakes? Well, all of Alaska really is prone to earthquakes. But where I live, when I first moved here, I went into the Alaska Earthquake Center, and I studied the earthquake map, and there hadn't been an earthquake in my general vicinity in the last 100 years. So they've been recording since like 102 or whatever, or 1902, sorry, 102, 1902. There hadn't been an earthquake here. But the homeowners had told me that there was. They told me that there was a 2.3 magnitude earthquake at the same time that they had this house up on stilts when they were putting the basement in below, because the basement actually came after the house, or at least the current basement did. So I don't know. I hear my neighbors talk about earthquakes all the time, that they felt an earthquake. Maybe I'm just I don't know, maybe I have sea legs and I don't feel them. But I have not seen an earthquake, on the earthquake map near my cabin or anything like that. And I have not felt one other than one day I was in here and I'm touching the monitor. You can't see it here. This monitor beside me, and right beside it is another monitor. And one day those two monitors were crashing together. And before I could get Kenai up and get out the door of this room, it had stopped. So that's about the closest as I've had to an earthquake here. And I figured that they probably actually hadn't really had an earthquake here, even at that point, because none of the shelving in this cabin has a lip on it or, anything to hold things on the shelf. It was all just open shelving. So I think if they had actually had an earthquake here, they would have had things to prevent things from falling off the shelves. And they haven't had that. So I would say in 50 years that this cabin's been here, 50, 53 years, uh, it's probably never seen an earthquake. So, and let's see here, going through some more salutations here. And Rob has put up a Bill's channel link over at Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead. So thank you for doing that, Rob. I'm sure Bill appreciates it, and I sure do as well. And there is Alaska Cut the Cords channel link as well. So be sure to check them out. And like I said, they have their live stream on Monday nights. And Matthew says, so I'm fixing to retire and I've always dreamed of moving to Alaska. Why would I not? Pros and cons. Well, I can give you some cons right off the bat. I think the pros are pretty obvious. It's a beautiful state. It's, I think there's way more freedoms here in Alaska. And from what I can see, they're doing a fair job of protecting some of those freedoms here in Alaska, which I really, really appreciate. But some of the cons that you might take into consideration, these are things that I've experienced and I've heard other people say about people that have moved here and then immediately moved away, is the cost. It is very expensive to not only move to Alaska, but to live in Alaska. Um, and you have two different ways of living in Alaska also. So that is one thing to take into consideration. You can live, in one of the larger cities, say Fairbanks or Wasilla, Anchorage, Kenai, places like that, where you're going to have your traditional way of life, where you might be living in a stick built house in a suburban neighborhood, uh, paying taxes on your property and your groceries and other, things that you might be purchasing, hooked up to utilities such as electricity and gas and water. Um, or you can live like I do, where I'm out in a remote area of Alaska. I do have electricity run to my property, but there's a lot of people that don't have that out here. And there's a lot of people throughout Alaska that are like that as well. Um, I don't have a water bill because I'm having to haul water into my property. So that could be a con as well, but I'm not paying property taxes on my property either. So by not paying property taxes, it also means that I don't have someone telling me what I can do on my property, that I can't build a structure that's, you know, 70 feet high and 10 feet wide at the base. I can do whatever I want on my property as long as I'm not breaking the state laws, which again, there are no state property laws that I'm aware of. And I don't have governance over me either. So I don't live in an area that has a city council, a mayor, or some board overseeing the city. There's a volunteer fire department, and I understand there's a league, but I don't know what the league does. I just think they do fundraiser type things for the community. But that comes as a con also because there's no police in the area where I live. There is state patrol, but they're not the same as the police. And so, when there is an issue, it's usually the community that takes care of the issue. And take that for what you will. That could be both good or bad, but that's how things work out here. It is kind of the wild, wild west where I live. So you have the expensive things. You have, the distance between destinations. If you're going to live like I'm living, um, it's quite a ways to a grocery store for me. The grocery stores in this area, the cost is almost double, if not double, of what it is in Anchorage and Wasilla, sometimes more than that. And the selection is not good when you live this way either. Um, you can go into a local market and the produce might be bad by the time you get in there, or the meat might be bad and that's all they have, and they might not have that big of a selection either. So those are things to take into consideration that can be a con about living this way. But if you can overlook the expense of moving to Alaska, I think the pros outweigh it. Like I said, the amount of freedom that you have in Alaska, the beauty of Alaska, the people in Alaska are some of the friendliest people that you'll ever meet. Not only, just in the sense of community, but also because Alaska relies so heavily on tourism that when you walk into a business, they don't know if you're a tourist or if you're a resident. And I would say probably 98 times out of 100 that you're going to be greeted with open arms and a smile and a conversation that is very sincere and heartwarming. But there's always going to be that one person or that one individual that's overworked and just doesn't really want to deal with the public in that day. And that's bound to happen anywhere, though, not just Alaska. But I would say that's very far and few between here. Um, yeah, I can't really think of any reason not to move to Alaska. Oh, this is what I was going to say earlier. Sorry about that. Is that I have heard of people moving to Alaska and not understanding how much it snows here. And the snow levels vary depending upon where you're at. You could be down on, the coast of Alaska on that southern side of the Gulf of Alaska, and you might not get that much snow. But then again, you could be in Valdez and get over 20 feet of snow. Or you could be where Rob and Sarah are in the northern part of Talkeetna and get 20 feet of snow. It just varies. I was out in Anchorage last I don't know if it was last December or the December before, but they had gotten the worst snowstorm on record in Anchorage. And I was there and I was like, this is the worst snowstorm. It's not even that bad. So it just really depends upon where you're at. But I have heard people saying that they didn't realize it snowed this much in Alaska. So that is one other thing to take into consideration for sure. But I would say the cost is usually the biggest thing for people when they move out here. They're surprised by the cost of everything. But that is a great question for sure. I hope I answered it. And onto it, Aussie is saying hi to Alaska Cut the Cord. And Bill over at Alaska's Last Frontier is saying to Matthew, to answer your question, it's cold, it's extremely snowy in most of Alaska. Summers can be amazing or absolutely amazing, or cold and wet like this summer. And that is true too. So last summer here at my property, it was cold and miserable for my guests that were here and my construction workers that were here basically all summer long. It was just cold, other than 3 days that we had a little heat wave come through. But this summer it was dry and really warm. So you never know what you're going to get for sure. But the winters are long here too. And then another con for people can be the darkness. Depending upon how far north you are in Alaska, you're going to get more and more darkness through the winter. For me, where I'm at, during the majority of the summer, I really do have 24 hours of daylight. Technically there is twilight and or dusk and dawn, so twilight in there, but it's bright as day outside. I can see the tree line out behind me as if it was the middle of the day. So the amount of light that you get in the summer months might be an issue, but then in the winter time, my daylight is only about 5 hours of daylight, and then it's really dark on either side of that, and then pure night for, I would say, probably 12 hours out of the night, maybe longer. It's going to be pitch black outside, and it's so cloudy here that a lot of times you don't even see the moonlight. So darkness can be an issue as well, for sure. Jim in Alaska's channel link has been put up by Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn. So thank you for doing that, Rob. I'm sure Jim appreciates that. And Ashley says to Matthew, finding good property at a good price is a big one on the list. That is true too. So you're going to find that there's a whole gambit of properties out there. Everything from vacant land that you might find for around $5,000 an acre, all the way up to $1 million properties and beyond. Whether you think it's worth $1 million or not might not match with what the listing says. But then that's one of the other things about listings here is no offense to any realtors in Alaska, but when I was looking for property here, like seriously looking for property here, I was really taken back by how undescriptive the listings were. Like they basically didn't tell you anything about the property that you were looking at. And um a lot of the realtors weren't really willing to go and show property either. They were just like, yeah, I can tell you where it's at and I can set up a time where you can go look at it yourself. But you know, if you're not from Alaska, you might not be used to that behavior. So that is one thing, is that you really have to be willing to do a lot of the legwork yourself. You have to be willing to totally understand the areas of Alaska that you're looking in, and understand that because Alaska is the largest state in the union, and it is so large at that, that there are many different climates within Alaska. Not only, climates as far as temperature, um, and things like that are concerned, but also the climate of the people, right? Like where I live has a very low crime rate, but if you go to Anchorage, you might have more crime, or, you might see newer construction in some places of Alaska, and then in other places have older construction. There might be industry in some areas, and like where I live, there's no industry. There's no work here on this side of the state, or at least in this portion of Alaska that I live in. Um, a lot of the people here are retired or they work from home. So that's one other thing to keep in mind, is finding the right job up here. But the job market in Alaska is quite vast. But if you have skills in um, a trade such as plumbing or construction, electrical, mechanics, um, nursing or medical care, teaching, you're almost guaranteed to get a job up here. It's that good for those type of jobs. But if you're, got a specialized trade that maybe is quite unique, you might find it harder to find work up here too. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're somebody who's looking to work up here, though I know you said you're retiring. So just all good things to keep in mind. And Bill says, I just got back from Phoenix, Arizona early this morning. Upper 90s was the coldest day. I was dying. Yeah, when you move to Alaska, that is one other thing. You will find that you probably rapidly adjust to Alaska temperatures. And then when you go in the heat, you melt. It's quite different. And Clint says, good evening from East Texas. Sorry, I'm late. No worries, Clint. So glad you're here. I love seeing you here as always. And thank you, Katrina. How are you doing tonight? Katrina says, we love your videos alone. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And I love seeing you here in the chat as well. And Ashley is saying hello to Clint. And Diana says to Sherry, we get quite a bit of snow in Colorado too. We were looking in Minnesota, and they don't get they don't get much more than we do. So, that is one thing too about the snow that I was mentioning, is Alaska, depending upon where you're at, may not get that much snow. In fact, I have friends back in Minnesota, and they and I were talking, and they get a lot more snow than the area of Alaska that I live in. The part of Alaska that I live in gets roughly the same amount of snow that Colorado would get. It's just that unlike Colorado, that once it falls, it stays. So, like I said, I should have snow here in about 2 weeks' time, and that snow will remain on the ground until the spring. So until June, basically, the first week of June is when the snow disappears here. So if you're not a fan of the snow, that might be an issue. And Antoadasi says, is there a government set minimum age for retirement in Alaska? Well, that is set by the federal government. I think more than the states. I don't know if the states have a minimum age, but in order to qualify for Social Security in the United States, I think the age now is 72. I could be wrong. I'm don't even really know. But yeah, I don't know if the states ever set that minimum age. I think that's all by the federal government here in America. JR says to Matthew, she's um, Alone's video number 22 for good info on moving to Alaska. Thank you again, JR, for doing that. Yeah, all of my videos are numbered into episodes, unless there's a random one like a channel update or a community post or something like that that I've done in video form. Otherwise, if it's a vlog or if it's a specific topic, they're all numbered. So they should be pretty easy to find that way. And Everyone's saying hello to Clint. And Ashley says, Alone, what is the last mail date for care packages? The last mail date this year, I think, is actually going to be November 1st. I will still be going out during the month of October, I think. But after November 1st, I'll probably close down the mailbox because there's no guarantee that I'm going to be able to get to the post office. And if I can't get to the post office, there's a good probability that your items are sent back before I can get there. So let's say November 1st this year is when I will close down my P.O. box for the year. But thank you for asking that. I would hate for anybody to send something and then it have to be returned because I didn't make it in time. And hello, Sinra, how are you doing? And I know I've said your name incorrectly, so I apologize. But I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. I apologize. I'm going to call you Siri. Syrinja. Yeah, I apologize. I'm so bad with pronunciation. But welcome, and from Idaho, I appreciate you being here, and please forgive me for the mispronunciation. And we have a lot of people saying hello to you as well as to some other people in the chat here. And Cremedge in says, how's that bear at Mountain Mariner off-grid Alaska? So Ed had his little encounter with the black bear this week. So be sure to check out his channel to see how things went there. And Carrie Ann says, so great to have you back. Thank you, Carrie Ann. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate your patience with me as well. And Scott says, Alone, you may have answered this before. Do you have your own firefighting water pump and water access? Here in Australia, in my area, we are being advised of extreme fire danger. So on my property, in order for my home to be insured, I don't have homeowners insurance. So that's one other thing, Matthew, that you might want to think about too if you're planning on moving remotely in Alaska, is that depending upon where you move, you might not be able to get your home insured in your typical homeowners insurance. What I have here for my property is called dwelling replacement insurance. So it doesn't cover any of my belongings. It doesn't cover any liability to anybody should they get hurt on my property. It only covers the structure itself. And as a requirement of having that insurance, I'm required to have means of fighting a fire, not just fire extinguishers, not just, you know, I don't know, a fire blanket or something like that, but I actually have to be able to fight a forest fire should I have one out at my property in the event that the volunteer fire department cannot make it to me in time. So I have 500 gallons of water stored in the cellar of my cabin. And then I have a pressure tank and a pump and a long hose that I can use to drag around the property and spray down the trees or whatever, should there be a forest fire or should my cabin catch on fire. So, yeah, I do have means of fighting a fire. Let's just pray that I don't ever have to. So, and then one of the things that I'm required to do by my insurance company is, send them documentation, photo evidence of my roof, the material it's made out of, what my wood stove looks like, the maintenance of my wood stove. I have to testify to, my maintenance schedule of my wood stove and things like that, just so I can have dwelling replacement insurance on my cabin. And let's see here. Rob is asking me if it was a vole or a shrew that ate my carrot tops. And I would say that it was a shrew and not a vole. So I have not actually seen any voles. When I first moved here, I thought the voles and the shrews were the same thing, but they are absolutely not. Voles have a little pointy nose and they kind of look like an ugly mouse. Where the shrews are they look like little Gus Gus from Cinderella, from the animated Cinderella. They're just the cutest little thing. They move as slow as could be. They're not afraid of you. They're actually really, really adorable. But they're still a pest. And I do think it was a shrew and not a vole. So I know other people have said they've seen voles here in this part of Alaska, but I've not seen a vole. I've only seen mice, field mice, and the shrews. So, and Ed over at Mount Mariner says, funny thing, all of my carrot tops are untouched, 20 feet from the radish. Isn't that bizarre that the rabbit didn't eat or the hare didn't eat your carrot tops. I I don't know what ate mine, but I still think it's a shrew. And Sherry says to Diana, I have a client there and several business partners. I can't leave Texas as I am taking care of my dad. When he goes home, I will be leaving Texas. Well, let's hope that that is a long time from now, for both you and your dad's sake. But yeah, I can understand um, wanting to be where you want to be for sure. That's why I am where I am. And Carrie Ann says, did you get your electrical wiring fixed? Not yet. Not yet. Hoping my son will be able to come out soon and get that taken care of for me. And Copper Penny says, all you full-time Alaskans are amazing to me. Lived most of my life in upstate New York and now north woods of Wisconsin. It's a lot drier here, which helps a lot in the wintertime. Yep. So like I said, depending upon where you're at, the moisture content and the snow levels can be extremely different. So here I got 108 inches last year of snow. I think the winter before that was like 115 or something inches. But, if you take what Rob and Sarah got out at their place in Talkeetna or what Valdez gets, right? So they get 120, 240 inches of snow on average in the wintertime. So Alaska or Valdez is actually one of the snowiest places in Alaska for sure. So, and then, um, and thank you for the compliment, by the way, Copper Penny. I appreciate that. I'm sure everybody else does too. And Robert Curmudgeon in says radish marinated in raspberry vinaigrette is amazing. That does sound absolutely delicious for sure. Ed says, I can't find the bear. Have spent about 5 hours looking for it. Oh no. He's probably either long gone or all that rain has washed away his trail for sure. And Scott P says, people here are buying their own firefighter pumps and polygon tanks and mounting them on trailers to protect their properties. That is a smart idea for sure. Whether you're in Australia, where you guys have had such devastating fires over the last years, or you're, anywhere fighting the house fire or forest fire, that's serious business. And so, yeah, I think it's very smart of them to do so. And that is actually something that I will be doing here as well in the future. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. Right now, I'm just relying upon that tank in the cellar to carry me through. And I don't have water out at my property. That was one of the things you had asked as well. I don't have a water well or a pump that can bring water up to my property. I literally have to drive away from my property to go haul water back to it. So, and Dennis says, I love that you find time for your family and friends. Well, thank you. I'm sure that they love it too, because I'm pretty sure that when I first moved up here, they were worried about when they would get to spend time with me. So it was very nice to see them. Jim in Alaska says, glad YouTube is working for you. I am doing my videos for my future descendants as this lifestyle will not exist in a few decades. I believe that as well. Maybe they will be in wonder at the freedom we have now. Yes, I hope that our current generations are not taking it for granted as much as it looks like they might be, because our freedoms are quickly disappearing for sure. And Bill is saying, please don't forget to hit that like button. And I thank you for that, Bill. And I appreciate everyone who has already hit the like button. And Curmudge says, currently 145 people in. Well, thank you for all of you that are here and everybody that's watching. Ashley said to Jim, sad but true about our freedoms disappearing in our way of life. This is definitely sad but true. Norm says, wow, that is a lot of people online. 1,500. Very good. Glad you got a break. Thank you very much for that, Norm. Appreciate it. And Rushing Wind says, great idea, to Jim in Alaska. JR says, did you do a drone search for a Smoky to Ed over at Mountain Mariner Off Grid? And Bren says, to Jim in Alaska, I agree. I do it so my grandchildren can see the adventures and know that wonderful people and places exist. Exactly. I have had some feedback about my videos. Some people have mentioned that they just really want to see my day-to-day actions around the cabin and what I'm up to. And they don't really care for the scenic shots. But there is a reason why I'm doing those scenery shots too. And as I explained to one person, was that for one, that might be the most interesting thing that occurred in the week is this beautiful scenic drive that I went on, or a place that I got to experience in Alaska. The other reason for that is because I know many of my viewers are living vicariously through my channel because either they want to visit Alaska or they had planned on moving to Alaska and still are, or they know that they'll never going to be able to make it to Alaska, but they want that experience. And so, because I know people are living vicariously through me, that is one of the ways that I can share Alaska with everybody. But also, this is my diary, right? This is my chance to document what's going on here at this cabin and with my life so that hopefully I can look back on it at some time with fun memories and think, oh, yeah, I remember when that happened. Oh, yeah, that was awesome. You know, um, but yeah, also for my children. I know both of my children watch. I have 3 children. I assume that all 3 watch them, but I'm not sure that the third one does. Uh, he's a bit finicky, but I know the other 2 do watch my channel, and I appreciate that because I know that that gives them the opportunity to keep tabs on me and make sure that I'm doing okay. Uh, Ed is saying that he had no luck in doing a drone search for Smokey the Bear out at his property that was giving him some trouble earlier this week. And JR says, must be in some thick brush. Very likely for sure. And Alaska's Last Frontier says, dear autocorrect, it's never duck. Oh, Bill. Bill is our other favorite comedian here on the channel, along with Clint, who's normally got a joke or 2 for us as well. So, gotta love him. And Rob has saying to Jim in Alaska, that is kind of why we started our YouTube channel as well. So my son can see what I am doing, as he does not call much as well as Sarah's daughter and the grandchildren. Yep. It is a good way of documenting and letting others, be able to share in the things that we get to experience here. So that's good. Rob is saying, Sarah and I are so happy to see you back doing lives. We always look forward to them. Thank you for coming back to them. You are welcome, Rob and Sarah. And I always love seeing you guys here as well. And I appreciate all your help moderating the channel. And same goes to JR and Bill as well, who are my other moderators. So thank you, all of you. I appreciate it. Rose Grace says, we have had very sunny or very warm summer in Minnesota. So that's good to know, Diana. You'll get some warm weather there in the summer times. I understand it's absolutely beautiful in the summer months. So I hope that it works out well for you when you move there. And thank you, Grace, for sharing that. Iris says, I'm glad Alaska is not a sanctuary state like California, New York, and Illinois. It's crazy what's happening there. I am very thankful for that too. I was actually thinking about that just recently. But speaking of sanctuary states, Alaska is a 2A sanctuary state, meaning that Alaska is doing what it can to protect our 2A, our gun rights here in Alaska, as many of us depend upon our guns for not only protection, but for survival, as hunting is a big thing here in Alaska. There are many, many residents that depend solely on what they can fish and hunt to survive through the years. So it is definitely a good thing here. And Clint says, yes, love the lives. Thank you, Clint. I appreciate that. And Rob is saying he agrees with Ira. And then Mountain Mariner is saying Raven R44 is 600 pounds. Raven R66 can do 1,000 pounds, pilot not included. Very interesting. I have no idea what the helicopter was that I flew on. But it was small. It seemed really, really small to me. Diana says, everyone tells my husband and me that we should have a YouTube channel. I'm planning to build a greenhouse, then get a sulcata tortoises, and grow plants year round. You definitely should be doing a YouTube channel, Diana. Not to mention, your tortoises and your dogs and the lifestyle that you and your husband live with, your homesteading and your hunting and all of that, but all your other talents as well. I think you would be a fantastic YouTube creator. So that's just my 2 cents, though. Rob is saying, or to Ed, yes, Rob is saying to Ed, the R44 has been up here a time or 2. Did they change their rates? They charged us for just airtime on the drop-offs that they did for us. And then Antoine Aussie says, just like Aussie, permission needed for everything. Yep, that's pretty much how it is throughout the entire United States. We say we have freedoms, but unfortunately, those freedoms come with a price for sure. And JR says, is that sticker weight or the AK weight? Oh my goodness, on that helicopter. And well, I'll be welcome, welcome. How are you doing tonight? Thank you for being here. It says, I'm a new subscriber. Hello from Canada. Great videos, breathtaking scenery in your environment. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you joining us in the live chat tonight. And Bill says, I've flown in the last 24 hours, came back from Phoenix. Way too hot there right now. It sounds like it. Absolutely. And Ed says, Skioski S92, I'm sure I mispronounced that, can lift 12,000 pounds. Oh my goodness. Once I save up a spare 34 million, I'm getting an S92. Oh my goodness. For those of you who don't know about Ed's channel, Ed lives, he probably has one of the highest elevated properties in all of Alaska. Maybe not, but close. But he has to take a helicopter to and from his property if he isn't going to snow machine or hike down off of his property. So that is one thing about Ed that is different than everybody else's. He is pretty darn remote, and he lives out closer to Rob and Sarah than I do, but he works out of Valdez, so he's got quite the trek to work. Ira says, pasta bake sounds great, Rob and Sarah. Do you ever make ravioli? Oh, ravioli sounds good too. And JR is saying hello to Well I'll Be and welcome to the channel. And Krumaj says, I am filming it as I go. However, some of it will not have audio as you came on. Well, I won't ding you if you show or hear my voice in the background. It'll be fine. And Alaska's Last Frontier says, hey to Ed, I'll pitch in $100 if I can take a ride from time to time. Ashley says, Ed, when I hit the lottery, I'll send you a check. And I'll be is saying, thank you to JR. Rob is saying to Ed, let me know when you get that baby. You may want a few things dropped off. And Diana says, I also want to get, I don't know what that word is. Sorry, I should be reading it off of here and not off the side. Valius black-nosed sheep, milk goats, and alpacas to add to our box turtles, pigeons, dogs, cats, salamanders, axolotls, tigers, salamanders, and leopard geckos. Did I miss anything? And grandchildren. Oh my goodness. And Lee said, I went for a glider ride over the ocean in Bar Harbor, Maine. Our pilot decided to do a clover roll. Yes, upside down. Oh my goodness. I probably would have had a heart attack. Mountain Mariner says, rates just went up recently. Yikes. And then Rob is saying, that's a larger helicopter for sure. Oh, that was a larger heli that I was on. Interesting. It seemed really tiny to me, but like I said, I'm not a flyer, so I wouldn't really know. And Norm says that he is 334 pounds himself. Well, then Norm, you and I could go on that flight, but we might not get anybody else on there. You, I, and the pilot. And Krumaj says, okay, TKA Air just charged us for flight time for the stove and the couch they dropped, but I also know how to get stuff off the slings fast to get them heading back. That does make a big difference, I'm sure. And then Rob said, not sure whose kitchen I like more, yours or mine. Oh my goodness. Well, yours is a good kitchen too, though. That's for sure. At least you got a nice wood cook stove. And Janice Hicks, how are you doing tonight, Janice? Janet says, do you go fishing for salmon? I love Alaska's salmon that I buy here in Michigan. So I have not been salmon fishing. Well, I take that back. I did go salmon fishing in Kenai earlier this summer, though I had zero luck whatsoever. The fish were not biting that day. The restrictions were so much that there was hardly anybody out on the water. They really have clamped down on salmon fishing this year. But I do plan on going again next year. And I know I've gotten some questions about going dip netting, but I'm such a little person that I don't feel safe going dip netting by myself. And I would love to go dip netting with some other people, but I just haven't had the chance yet. So next year, hopefully, I get that opportunity to go dip netting and catch some salmon. And Ira says, looking forward to another cooking video. Yes, I need to get back to doing some cooking videos for sure. I appreciate that you guys like those cooking videos. And Rushing Wind Mountain says, I will be binge watching to play catch up on all your videos. Truly love this channel so far. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I can say that there are some that are better than others in my video catalog, but I hope that you will overlook any ones that you don't and keep moving forward with my channel. Marla Martucci, how are you doing tonight? Nice to see you here again. Marla says, great to see you again alone. We've been having a heat wave here in central Maryland, 97 to 100-degree air temperatures. Woo! My brother told me today was their first day of sun after 2 weeks of rain. Oh my goodness. That is some high temps. And yeah, first day of sun, that's what it was like here today as well. When I woke up, there was like hardly any clouds in the sky. The winds had kind of died off, but the winds came back, and I'm sure it's going to be raining again tonight. So I feel for the rain, and I feel for the heat temps also, because I know I couldn't do those temperatures. And Jim is asking Rob how everything is going up there at the Curmudge Inn. And Norm says, yes, cooking video was a good one. Well, thank you, Norm, for that. I will make sure that I get some more cooking videos out. And we got some salutations going on here. And Mandu Nanda, how are you doing? Greetings from Los Angeles, they say. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And Diana says, big bull moose, not buck. Yeah, there's a bull moose. Yep. Did I say buck? I meant bull. Oh my goodness. You can tell that I need to eat something, I guess. But then again, like I said, the mouth works faster than the brain sometimes. And Marla says, sorry, meant to say my brother lives in Wasilla. I kind of figured that you meant that he was in Alaska. Sorry about that. Keen, I just knocked something over behind us. But I thought that that's what you might have meant, Marla, that your brother was here in Alaska because of all the rain that we've had. So, and Ed is saying to Rob, I was honor graduate at Air Assault School. I'll race against you on the sling loads. Oh my goodness. That would be quite the video if you two could do that, could like just show who could offload the helicopter slings faster. Jared says, just looked at the chopper video. It's an R-44-2 for Mountain Mariners information, I guess. And thank you for doing that, JR. And Kermej says hello to Jim in Alaska. It's going good here. Just getting projects done here at the property. So be sure to check out Rob and Sarah's channel over there at the Kermej Inn and see everything they've got going on. They live in a semi-frozen. Oh my goodness. See, there we go. An infamous home here in Alaska. It was on one of the very popular TV shows. So be sure to check out their channel to find out more about that. And JR is saying hello to Madhu. How are things in Shaky Town? And Eric Oach says, hi alone from Avon, Colorado. Hello, Eric. How are you doing? I love Avon. I have some family up that way. It's beautiful in the Vel Valley and in the Avon area. And James says, alone, how about publishing your own cookbook? I have thought about it. Maybe someday I will do that. But I don't know if I have the time right now. Let me get the cabin finished first, and then we'll work on doing a cookbook. But I've definitely given that some serious consideration for sure. And Lee says, caribou meat is delicious. Love moose meat too. Yes, moose meat is absolutely by far, hands down, the most delicious meat that I have ever eaten. And caribou, I can tell you that the reindeer sausages that I've had have been absolutely fabulous too. So I would imagine any cut of meat off the caribou is bound to be tasty. So good to hear. And Rob over at Curmudgeon says, when I was doing most work, we could get 2 to 3 sailboat rigs up in 2 hours. Got use of dealing with cranes and slings almost at the same setup. Nice, very nice. And Sherry says, alone, I would love to see a series of videos on how to shoot YouTube videos. You have a good eye. Well, I could do that maybe as a offshoot to my normal vlogs, and or just even, compile it all into one. I don't think that there's a whole lot to what I do. but I could give some tips and tricks on what I do and how I edit my videos. Um, but a lot of times when I'm watching back the footage, I always think, "Oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Like that is not no, that's not a good shot," or whatever. So maybe luck has a little bit to do with it too, but I appreciate that, Sherry, and I'll see what I can do to accommodate. And Janice Hicks says, "Is OPEC still drilling for oil in Alaska? And does every resident get $3,000 a month as a royalty?" No, we don't get a royalty of $3,000 a month. We do get the PFD, which is the pipeline um, fund dividends. Basically, it's the oil dividends are invested, and then the proceeds off those investments get dispersed back out to the residents, and some of it goes to government projects that the state has. But I didn't know that it was OPEC necessarily the ones drilling here in Alaska. I don't know who the oil companies are actually in Alaska, so maybe it is OPEC. Maybe somebody else can answer that question. But yes, there is still drilling going on, and even though um, the Biden administration has closed down the pipeline, all that did was put that oil in tankers. That's all it did. It didn't stop the oil production. It just took it out of the pipeline and put it in tankers. And so now they're using oil and gas and everything else to drive it across the state of Alaska, to get it to Valdez, to get it on the ship, to get it back down to the lower 48, to turn it into gas and whatever else. And then some of that gets shipped back up here so that we have gas in Alaska, because we do not have our own refinery here in Alaska. So, yep, there is still oil drilling going on here, to answer your question. And as far as the PFD goes, I think this year it's scheduled to be around $1,300, and that's a one-time payout a year to every resident in the state of Alaska. You do have to be an Alaskan resident, and you have to have lived here for an entire calendar year before you get that, and meet a bunch of other requirements. But $1,300 is what I expect, or what I understand it'll be this year. And Rob is saying, "We had a stunning day yesterday. Rained at first, but by 11, Denali was out until after 10 p.m. Was nice to get stuff done outside." Yes, I saw that you were doing your live outside and it looked absolutely beautiful. Like I was saying here yesterday, it was in the low 40s. But because of where I have the thermometer on the cabin, it was saying that it was 80 degrees. And then by the time the sun had come fully around, um, and just to the other side of the trees, it was showing 100 degrees outside, but it was never that warm. It was only in the 40s yesterday. So, though it was sunny yesterday and it was nice, but we did get more rain overnight again. And I'm Private says, "You are a beautiful woman." Well, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate that. And I am glad to see you here in the chat and on the channel. I saw your comment earlier, so thank you again. I appreciate that. And Rob says to Janice, "The PFD varies year to year." That is correct. And Mountain Mariner says, "I'm a licensed crane operator too, spent many days rigging cargo to and from offshore oil rigs and drill ships." And Living in the Sticks says, "Just curious if you've had any bears on your property this summer." I know that I've had bears on the property because I have seen evidence of them. I've seen their scat. I've seen, some footprints and what have you, but not as many as I did previously. I've not seen any of the bears actually this year, and I've not caught any of them on the trail cams or on the security cameras. But I do know that they're definitely out there. But now that we're, approaching fall, that I do expect that they'll start coming inland a bit more. And so I expect over the next couple of months, I'll see more and more evidence of the bears on the property. E.S. Ferguson, how are you doing tonight? E.S. says, "Hello from South Carolina. I really enjoy your videos. Hope you have a safe winter." Well, thank you very much for that. And I appreciate seeing you here in the chat tonight with us. And Kermudge says to Ed, "I did not work the crane. I was doing the groundwork, putting the sticks on my clients' boats. The yard I worked in at times had to lifts and would line them up." Well, that sounds like great work, actually. I don't know. I could be wrong, but being a crane operator actually does sound like a lot of fun if you ask me. And Janice says to Rob, so are they still drilling for oil since Biden has done his number by stopping all drilling? Watch a lot of homesteaders in Alaska and never catch them live, so I thought I would ask. That is a great question. But like I said, I know the drilling is still going on. So that is for sure. And I know that because I have some friends that work up in Prudhoe Bay and the surrounding areas up there on the North Shore, and that those areas, the Red Dog Mine, Prudhoe Bay, and Barrow, they're all thriving. They're all absolutely thriving up there. So, and Ashley says to Ed, I do some rigging from time to time. Only ran small cranes though. And Todd Weasley, how are you doing tonight? It says Alaska the beautiful. Yes, Alaska is beautiful for sure. And thank you for being here tonight, Todd. I greatly appreciate it. And Mary Beth Tanner, how are you doing tonight? I'm so glad to see you again. And Mary Beth says, hello, lady. Hello, hello. Rushing Wind is saying hello to Todd. And Rob is saying to Ed, would adjust the rigging over the next few days, could get the deck stepped and mast done fast. Nice, nice. And we got some salutations going on here. And JR says to Ashley, I thought you were a machinist. And then Rob is saying to Janice, yes, they are still drilling up here. I do not think it'll stop for a long time. One other thing is, this is the reason why I don't think it's OPEC that is doing the drilling in America, because it's American soil. It's not OPEC. I thought was the Middle Eastern countries that owned OPEC, but also because I know that the natives who own the land, the native corporations that own the land up on the northern slope where all the drilling is taking place, they are the ones profiting the most from those oil drills. So I don't think it's OPEC, but like I said, I could be completely wrong. So if I am, don't hold it against me. And Big Eye Buckfoot says, I made it. Woo woo. Well, nice to have you here, Nance. For everybody who doesn't know, Nance also has a channel, as you can tell by her channel name, Buckeye Bigfoot, and she relays stories that her viewers send to her about their encounters with Bigfoot over the years. And they are quite interesting. So if you ever have a curiosity about Bigfoot and what people have encountered, I do highly recommend that you check out Nance's channel. It's one of those channels that you can put it on and just listen to your heart's content, because the stories will keep you entertained even without visuals. It's very, very entertaining. So glad to have you here, Nance. I greatly appreciate seeing you tonight. And Kermudge says to Janice, I think this year will be $1,300. Last year was over 3,000. There you go. That's where that number came from. And Ashley says to JR, I am a jack of all trades. I started as a machinist, sorry, and moved to machine repair. And Jenna says to Rob, oh, good, wonderful. If anyone of our states should be still making it happen, it is Alaska. Well, thank you for that, Janice. We agree with that as well, although we would like to see the rest of the country being successful as well, for sure. And Rob says to Ed, Alaska, one of these days I will catch you in the TKA so we can have a beer and chat. There you go. And JR says, and that is one person as I recall, to curmudgeon. One person as I recall. I don't know what that one was for, JR. Sorry about that. And Two Bears says, I am still breathing, pretty much says how my summer has been, Miss Alone. I'll get through it, though. I always do. Knock on wood. Yep, knock on wood. I'm glad you're still with us, Two Bears, and hopefully someday you make it up here to Alaska as well. And I am glad, though, that you're still breathing. Daisy and Ed, it's Alaskan Adventure. How are you guys doing tonight? So glad to see you again. And they said, any earthquake under a 4.0, we don't consider it an earthquake. Yeah, I believe that one, too. I absolutely believe that one. And Rushing Wind says, oh, wow, that's awesome. No property tax. But again, that depends upon where you're at in Alaska. There are property taxes in other areas of Alaska for sure. Like, I don't know if Rob and Sarah pay property tax, but I know Bill has on one of his properties. And I know John in Alaska has, and so on and so forth. So it just depends upon where you're at for sure. Rob says, JR, I got lost. Not sure what that response was to as well. Annette, how are you doing tonight? So good to see you. And Annette says, good evening, all. Nice to see you back in the chat again. And JR says to Ashley Anderson, me too. Corporate pilot, machinist, software programming, among other things. Yep, JR is a man of many talents as well. And Antodasi is saying hello to Annette. And Rob is saying, we call that Bush justice out here, lol. I think I'm getting too far behind in the comments because I'm not sure what that one was in regards to as well. Maybe it was the community taking care of its own out here. Ashley is saying hello to Annette, and Ed is saying, sounds good. The stars will have to align perfectly because I spend very little time in civilization. That's how I think most of us on here tonight, these Alaska channels are. Our thing is to be as far away from civilization as possible. And Rob is saying hello to Annette and hoping all is well with her as well. And JR says, to Rob, per person for the PFD. Oh yes, the 1300 is per person. That is correct. And Cremudge Inn is saying, same here. Summer is best as we do not go in much in the wintertime. Yep, most of us are staying put in the wintertime, that's for sure. There's a lot less travel than we do in the summer. And Rob is saying to JR, yes, you are correct per person on the PFD. Ed says we are typing 4,000% faster than alone can reply to. That appears to be the case tonight. If I'm looking back at these comments are almost an hour old. So I've done a lot of talking tonight, and I do apologize because I'm way behind in the comments. So apologies for that. JR says non-union. I do what I'm told. I prefer mill work, machine setting, and fab work. And Annette is saying, I'm good. Just got home. Had to help my son get his motorcycle. Well, I hope everything is okay with the motorcycle, and I'm glad you made it home safely. And Antonasi says $2.47 plus 10% tax per 1,000 liters of water here. That's town living. Yikes. I don't know what I paid for water back in Colorado, but I know where I'm at that I pay roughly just over $100 a year for unlimited amount of water. But again, I've got to haul it. And that's because I'm using just the smallest well. There's another well in the area, and I think they charge $300 for the larger well. JR is saying to Robert Rukmunjanin, I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. Oh my goodness. And there are the jokes. And Todd Weasley says, been cutting and splitting wood today after work and getting ready for whitetail deer season here in Kentucky. Well, I hope you absolutely get your fill of the whitetail deer and get those freezers full for winter. I think everybody should have the opportunity to have their pantries stocked up as full as possible so that we never have to go without. And Rushing Wind says, how do you deal with the long summer daylights and short winter ones? For me, the summer daylight is probably the hardest. The short winter days, I don't mind whatsoever. I find that in the wintertime, I definitely go to bed and wake up with the sun more than I do in the summertime. Well, obviously, because the sun's never really going down here. But the sunlight in the nighttime doesn't really bother me. I did wind up putting a blackout shade on the door that has a window on it in my bedroom. But that was just because at 4 o'clock in the morning, the sun was coming right in and hitting me in the eye. But I have all the other windows open in the cabin and the sunlight just floods in. To me, it's no different than taking a nap in the middle of the day. It doesn't really bother me. The light doesn't. But in the wintertime, I do find that I wake up later in the day and I go to bed earlier. Plus, here in the cabin, I put insulation in all the windows and draw all the curtains closed. So there's no light coming in here in the winter months. So it's always dark in the cabin. But I like the dark. You can ask my family and they will tell you, yes, she always kept the curtains closed back in Colorado too. They would come in and rip those curtains open and tell me, let the light in. And I was like, close the curtains. You just let the heat in doing that, back in Colorado. But here I do it for the insulation purposes for sure. And let's see here. Those are good questions though. So thank you for that. And Rob says, oh my God, Anchorage is horrible about plowing. Last winter, nice roads until I got around the Costco exit, and then it was horrid roads. Yeah, well, I have no idea what it's like, because the first winter that I was here, I was snowed in at the property. I didn't actually leave for several months on end. And then last year, I really didn't go out other than maybe 1 or 2 times in the wintertime. Um, but towards the end of winter, I drove out. I don't remember exactly where I went, but the roads were fine. I was actually really surprised, because there was still a ton of snow on my property, but the roads were dry everywhere. So who knows? Maybe this winter I'll get out and venture more in the wintertime, but highly doubt it, to be quite honest. And Ashley says, Todd Weasley, it's that time of the year. And Todd said, or Rob says, nice. I miss whitetail deer season. It is hunting season everywhere, I think, for sure. And JR says to Ed over at Mount Mariner, the last big live like this, she was 45 minutes behind in comments. Yep, I am again tonight. I got derailed, so apologies. And Ed says, they called me today while I was out fetching wood. A vessel engineer got injured and they wanted me to come back to work. Oh my goodness. Even if I was by my cell phone, I wouldn't have answered though. Yeah, I don't think I would either, especially considering your trek back to work and what it costs you just to get to work. Oh my goodness. And there is Ed's channel link for everybody, by the way. So be sure to check out Mountain Mariner Off Grid Alaska. And Lee says, Alone, did you draw or create your logo? Love that it looks like a white tail, like a whale tail, sorry, but also yours and Kenai silhouette. So this one, I did. I would say I did, but I didn't. Uh, it came from a friend of mine, and it was a little bit different. And so I kind of changed it up a little bit, like the when he drew my ponytail. I took the ponytail off and cropped it in, and he had a dog tag on Kenai. I took the dog tag off. And then I put the background behind it. So this one is a collaboration between me and my friend. But the one that you're seeing now at the beginning of my videos, that one was actually done by Amanda Off Grid. She did that as a favor to me, that she and I worked together on that. And so that one was by Amanda Off Grid. If you're interested in her channel, I can tell you that she's taken a break from YouTube, because she's got some full-time employment that's pulled her away from YouTube right now. But she has a whole catalog of videos that you can watch. And if you're curious about her channel, I have a video on my channel that you can check out, where it's Meet the YouTuber. And I did a whole video just about Amanda. And it's actually one of my favorite videos. I think it turned out really, really well. So, but thank you. This one is by me and a friend of mine, and the other one is from Amanda. So thank you. And Rob is saying smart move to Ed for not answering the phone. And Matthew says, well, I'm strong and I prefer a life by myself. As long as I can hunt and grow a garden, I think I'll survive and strive. Well, that is awesome to hear, because you definitely need that here in Alaska for sure. And Two Bears says to Ashley, I've been tired and I've tried to get trained as a machinist. Sorry about that. But can't find any training here. I had a friend that was going to teach me, but he passed away. Agent Orange got him. Oh no, that's not good. But yeah, I hope you get the training that you're looking for sure, Two Bears, because I know that you're, you know, quite a talented person. Two Bears is not only a school bus driver, but he also has done logging, and he also makes furniture, wood furniture himself, and has a whole host of other talents. So I'm sure that you would do great as a machinist as well, Two Bears. And Joe Young, so nice to see you here tonight. I appreciate seeing you. Joe says, good evening, Annie. Great to see you. You look great, loves. Well, loves right back to you, Joe. I appreciate it as always. And I'm really happy to see you in the chat. And Todd says, would really like to get a moose and try that meat out. It is delicious. Every bit of moose I've ever eaten has been phenomenal. I don't know if it's how it was prepared before I received it, meaning, it was uh, put into seal and mill bags basically, or canned. I don't know if they did something to that before they did it or what, but it was very tender and very flavorful. And Rob over at the Convention Inn says, just find land that has a clearing. Getting those stumps up is a pain in the ass. And sorry for the language, but I agree. It absolutely is. Just with the few trees I had felled here this summer. Luckily, we had a bulldozer that was able to get those tree stumps up, but now they're just pushed off into the edge of the woods, so I'll be looking at those for quite some time to come. But yeah, get land with a clearing. If you can get one that already has a driveway put in, that'll save you too. And unless you want to build your own cabin, find one with a cabin on it that doesn't require too much work, because this one was 50 years old or better when I bought it, and it's definitely a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but all the work is definitely worth it because I'm able to make it my own for sure. And Matthew says, thank you everyone for the input. You are most welcome, Matthew. And Ed says, find a plot with a big rock, build on top of that rock. That is also something I would say, look for land that is high and dry, because so much of Alaska does flood. That is one thing that you'll want to check out, is make sure you're not in a flood zone. And you'll see where it'll say it's a 100-year flood zone. I wouldn't buy any land in a 100-year flood zone, because you never know when that 100th year is actually going to strike, regardless of when the last flood actually was. Hold on one second, folks. I got to take a drink here. And Rob is saying to Todd, moose is amazing. Been going out hunting every day since the 1st of September. I have until the 20th to get one. Yep. And it's definitely worth the hunt too. If you can get your own meat, I think that's definitely worth it. And Todd is saying good luck to Rob. Hope you get one. I agree. And Ed is saying cow moose only on the move around here. No bull moose sighted yet. Like I said, I had a big bull moose going through here in July. I have not seen him recently. That's for sure. Ashley is asking where Two Bears is at. And I believe he's in upstate New York, if I'm correct. Yes, New York. Margaret Larvia, sorry, Margaret. How are you doing tonight? Margaret says, hi, Alone. How have you been? Nice to see you. Wishing you all the best. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I've been doing well. In case you haven't seen my most recent videos, I traveled during the month of August, and I put out a couple videos in the last week that showed some of that. And this week's video will show some of the things that I got to do with my son and daughter while they were here as well. And I appreciate you being here tonight also. And Norm says, someone I know's daughter and son-in-law are still doing the travel nurse route in Alaska, still short there. Yes, they're very short on all sorts of positions up here right now, but definitely in the nursing staff. And I know traveling nurses make a decent salary up here for sure. I know some that do Alaska for 6 months and then they go to Hawaii for 6 months and do traveling nurse that way. Not a bad way to live, if you ask me. And Two Bears is answering Ashley and saying Northern New York State, kind of off the end of Lake Ontario. And Rob is saying to Ed, I have a nice bull running around, but I do not want to drop him at 1 a.m. That is the time he comes around. Hoping next week when temps drop, I can call him in. Yep, I know that one too. That seems like the moose are always coming through in the middle of the night. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning is about the latest that I've seen them recently. But over the last couple of weeks, I haven't seen anything come through here. So Ed says, but if there are cow moose, the bulls won't be far behind. That is generally true as well. And Rushing Wind says, sorry to hear that about to Two Bears. Hope things work out for you, as do we all. And Rob is agreeing with Ed. JR says, throw a saddle on that monster and go for a spin. I thought that was Clint's line to ride the moose. Ashley says, Two Bears, are there any trade schools near you? And Rob has thrown up Jim in Alaska's channel link for everybody. So be sure to check out Jim in Alaska. Two Bear says, thanks to Rushing Wind. And Todd Weasley says, my dream is to move to Alaska and live in the solitude life. Absolutely love the outdoors. That is what my dream was as well, to come up here. To be honest with you, I never thought I was going to do a YouTube channel. That was not in the thinking before moving here. But I am glad that I started the channel. But my dream was to come up here and just live a life of solitude, being able to do things on my schedule and my terms, and live the life that I've always dreamed of, hunting and fishing, and just enjoying the outdoors. And so far, I'm getting to do the majority of that as I wish, and I couldn't be happier. Honestly, I think moving to Alaska was the best decision that I ever made, next to having my children. So it's definitely worth the move. And Rob is saying to JR, I may have to, as I think Clint has a reward for it. Lol. Two Bears says no to Ashley. There is Rob's channel link for the Curmudgeon Inn. Rushing Winds channel link as well. And Jenna says 62 in the USA, but you make more per month. Okay, so 62 is the retirement age in the USA, but you make more per month. If delay it into the 60s and you have never paid into it by working in the USA, you can't get USA Social Security. That does make sense. Yep. Yep, you have to be a US citizen to get Social Security for sure, or paid into it in some way. Clint says to Curmudgeon, yes, I want to see someone saddle up a moose and ride it. And JR says, Social Security depends upon your birth year, and you can take early Social Security at 59. For a full Social Security, you can get much more money, but you have to pay in 3 times as much as you will get back. Ugh. And Rob has thrown up Bill's channel link over at Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead. And Bill is saying, please don't forget to hit that like button. I do appreciate that, Bill. JR, Rob is saying, I need to find out my age group, lol. And Mary is saying 62 is Social Security, more money if you wait longer. Well, thank you, Mary, for that. And thank you for joining the chat tonight. And Ashley is saying, Two Bears, that's unfortunate. I was lucky, started learning while in high school, had a job lined up before graduation. Wish I could help. And Jim in Alaska says, I may be weird, but I'll take the winter darkness over the 24 hours of daylight. The dark doesn't bother me. I can sleep in the dark, not the light. Lol. Yeah, like I said, the light doesn't bother me for sleeping, but I will admit when it's hot outside, it knocks the energy out of me. I just want to sleep when it's a million degrees outside. That's what I call 70 degrees is a million because I don't like the heat. So, but in the cold, I sleep just fine too. I think I sleep fine all the time. I love sleep. Dee says, if you can't get out after November, what would you do if you had a medical emergency, God forbid, like a heart attack or a stroke? I would call 911. There are, with the volunteer fire department, there are medics that work with them. There is, they could be here just as quick as anybody else could. And that's about all I could do. So even if I couldn't get off the property, they could get onto the property. They might have to snow machine back to me, but that's the chance that I take. I just pray that I don't ever wind up in that situation. And this might sound morbid, but if I pass here on this property due to, say, a stroke or a heart attack or choke on a chicken bone, for God's sakes, then at least I went doing what I wanted to do, which was be here. So I'm not too overly concerned with that happening, though, one way or the other. But sorry to take that in that direction as well. Mary says, hello from Salem, Massachusetts. Well, hello, Mary. And like I said earlier, thank you again for being in the chat. Rob is saying to Jim in Alaska, love the blackout curtains my mother made us. Yeah, the one I got is like a heavy piece of vinyl, and then it just velcros to the window. But I did wind up putting some black tape around the edges of it as well because it was still letting a little bit of light in. But it's fabulous. It does cut out that sun coming over the mountains at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Two Bears says, Ashley, the coolest I could find, coolest, I'm sure he meant closest, sorry. I can't read, obviously. I could find was 2 hours away. It was an adult education class and ran 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. in February and right in the snow belt. Pardon my French, but screw that. It can snow so hard that you just can't drive, I'm sure, is what he meant. And that's unfortunate. But I hope you find something else that works for you, Two Bears. Really, I do. I hope that they will do one in this warmer time of the year for you. And Rob is saying hello to Mary from from New Hampshire. Originally is what that says there. And Mario, how are you doing tonight? Mario says federal retirement age this year is 67. If you decide to take early Social Security, the minimum age is 62, but the amount is very small. At 70, you are forced to take Social Security. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, good to know. Thank you for that, Mario. And thank you for being in the chat tonight. Do appreciate that. JR says to Rob, I would guess you are in the age group of 95 to 105. Just kidding. And Rob laughed at that. He says, far from it. Mary says, hello to Rob from California originally, and sometime in Boulder, Colorado, and Phoenix, Arizona. Nice, nice. And there is Alaska Cut the Cords channel link for everybody. Be sure to pay them a visit and tell them Alone sent you. And Matthew says, water pumps and hoses. Not sure what that had to do with. Maybe the fire situation we were talking about earlier. I'm not exactly sure. And JR says, California is a good state to be from, far from. I agree with their politics these days. And Janet says, it is now very expensive to live anywhere in the USA. We all have the West and the East Coast rents over $1,000 a month. I don't think I've ever paid less than $1,000 a month rent, except for maybe the very first apartment I had when I first moved out of my parents' house, and I was still in high school when that happened. So yeah, or just out of high school, I should say. But yeah, rent in Colorado has always been expensive. So I'm sure, that rent anywhere right now is outrageous. And I understand it's hard to find a place to rent. When my son and daughter were looking for a place to rent, they were telling me that there were wait lists of, 6 months to 3 years out. I was like, who can do that? Who has that, freedom to be like, oh yeah, just put me on a waiting list for 3 years from now, even though I don't have a place to live right now. I don't know how that works. But yeah. And let's see here, just going through some thank yous and some salutations. And Mountain Mariner saying 43 degrees and raining hard and getting windy here right now. Let's see here. I can tell you what the weather app is saying that it is here, but I'm inside, so I'm not feeling much of it. But like I said, it was fairly warm here today. It is saying that it is in the mid 50s here right now, and partly cloudy. And Rob is saying to Ed, 53 where he is at in northern Talkeetna, off and on rain. And JR says, Mountain Mariner, that wind generator, Jenny, should be working up a storm. I agree. And that's something that I thought about getting here, and I probably should have, because the winds here are sometimes incredibly strong. Bill over at Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead is saying Valdez is the snowiest place in North America, not just Alaska. It holds several North American snow records. I believe that one. And Janice Hicks says, I heard tonight that there are many fires in British Columbia, much like what happened in Maui. Oh my goodness, that is not good. Absolutely not good. And Lee says, that sounds really good to Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn. I'll have to try that. Love radishes, good source of vitamin A. And Rob is saying to Lee, slice them about 1/8 of an inch thick, and you'll love them. Give them a day to soak in the raspberry vinegar. That does sound delicious. Two Bear says, Ashley, I live on the top edge of our snow belt. So if it snowed, I could be in snow the whole time. Last winter, I got 4 feet in 24 hours, 20 minutes south, 7 feet in 24 hours. It was horrible. Yep. That is one thing, like I was saying about the snow here where I live, is once it falls, it stays. And last year, our first snowstorm was several feet of snow. So it'd be interesting to see what I get this year. And I feel for you, Two Bears, because it's the same way here. And Donna says, did you or are you going to make a fire line around your property? I did. I bartered with somebody to clear around my cabin. And so now none of the trees are in jeopardy of falling on or near my cabin where they could potentially catch my cabin on fire very easily. And so, yes, I did get that fire break put in, not only around my cabin, but also around the bunkhouse on my property as well. So great question. Thank you for that. And Todd says, peace to all on here and good night. 3 a.m. comes early. Later, y'all from Kentucky. Good night, Todd. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm sure you've long gone, considering that was almost an hour ago, but good night to you if you watch this back on a replay. And Norm says, I hope you are correct. So many people really don't understand the freedoms that have and how they came about. That is definitely true. I think a lot of people don't understand what freedom really means. And Ashley says, Two Bears sounds like buffalo. Mountain Mariner is saying, in the winter of 1952-53, 974.1 inches or 2,474 centimeters of snow fell, the most ever recorded in one season at one location in Alaska. That is a lot of snow in one fall. Oh, I guess that was in one season. One season. My bad. James says, have you thought of publishing your own cookbook? Yeah, I talked about that a little bit earlier. And yep, have thought about it, but it'll wait a bit. I'm not ready to do that just yet. And Mountain Mariner saying that is 81 feet. That is a lot of snow. 81 feet in one season. Ooh. I hope that doesn't happen here. Norm says, I love all the shots that you show us. Well, thank you, Norm. I appreciate that. Uh, that does mean a lot to me. Even if I sometimes wonder how good they actually are, I'm glad to hear that you guys like them. And Lee says, to Rob, okay, great. I will definitely try that on the radishes. James says, Alone, have you ever thought of publishing your own cookbook? Just answered that. And Mountain Mariner says the pass also holds the Alaska record for the most snow in a single day at 62 inches or 160 centimeters. Fell on December 29th of 1955. So 62 inches, that's just over 5 feet of snow. That's a lot of snow in one drop. Last year, I think it was last year or the year prior, I got so much snow in one overnight snowstorm that it actually blocked off the chimney and snuffed out my fire. Luckily, the fire was just about out at the time that it had done it, so it didn't cause any issues in the cabin. But yeah, the snow here, when it drops, it can drop fast and hard for sure. And Two Bears says to Ashley, haha, yep. They're on the other snow belt in New York State. I felt sorry for them in that snowstorm that they had gotten. Annette Witt says, Alone, please keep on sharing the scenery. You are or I will, is what I'm trying to say. I was like, you don't have to worry about that one. I will definitely keep on passing the scenery because, like I said, I like it, and I also think that there are many of you who do enjoy it. So Matthew Kelly says, good information on the water. I thank you and everybody's info. Love so much, and I'll keep following. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that I was able to provide you some information that you wanted. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And Bill is saying to Ed, I'll get to your video. I didn't watch any YouTube since last Thursday. Yes, it is hard sometimes to make it through all the YouTube channels that we wind up following here. But I think we all understand when life happens and you don't get to see them all. At least I hope people understand. Ashley says, Two Bears just went through there the other week on I-90. Rushing Wind Mountain says, yes, indeed. I love Alaska, but have just done our final relocation since we're getting on in years. So your channel will bring to us what we are missing. Well, I am glad to hear that, and I will continue to show you as much of Alaska as I possibly can. And I'm glad to know that people are enjoying that. So thank you, Rushing Wind. And Ed says, I haven't finished a video yet. Tomorrow morning, I'll work on it and post a new one. Just had a couple community posts describing my ATV seat issue and the hungry bear. And Ashley says, or Two Bears says to Ashley, really? That's a surprise. Did you get around Watertown, New York? And Matthew Kelly says, can I follow you on Facebook? I don't actually have Facebook. I used to have an Instagram, but I have since stopped posting on there well over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago at this point. So it's just YouTube for me, and I do have a Patreon as well. But my Patreon is the same as my membership page on YouTube, where they get sneak peeks to my videos. So they'll get a portion of the video sent to them in advance, and then they get priority response to my comments. But I don't have Facebook. Sorry about that. And Lee is saying, living here in Maine, I've always been told that Alaska is the same, just on a grander scale. What I said when I first came to Alaska years and years ago with my family on a vacation was that Alaska was like Colorado on steroids, but with an ocean. So yeah, I could see where Maine and Alaska would have very similar scenery and wildlife and things like that, and climate as well. So, yep, I see that for sure. And Eric said, how was the back of the bus in the park? It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. In fact, when we got off the bus, that is how the bus driver said goodbye to us. She giggled and said, bye, back of the bus. I think we might have been a little bit too rowdy, my friend and I, in there, because we were giggling over almost everything. We had a blast on the bus. So it was a lot of fun. And it was nice that the bus wasn't overly crowded either. Like the bus that disembarked before we got on ours was packed full. Every seat had somebody in it. But on the bus that we were on, I think there were maybe 12 people on it besides us. And so that's why I was able to hop back and forth from one side of the bus to the other to get scenery. So yeah, the bus was, I would say, again, early in the morning, late at day. If you're lucky enough to get a bus that isn't booked solid, it's a blessing, because then you can do that. You can hop around and see both sides, and see all the wildlife that there might be. So Robin says, my favorite is the scenery, breathtaking, and thank you for sharing your journey. Well, you are welcome, and thank you for that as well, Robin. Eric says, you'll have to ride my bus in a few years when we can drive all the way there again. Well, I hope that you do make it up here again, Eric, and we will definitely talk at that time and see what we can do. And Ashley says, Two Bears, I'd have to check a map, but don't remember, honestly, was taking my daughter to college in Rhode Island, and it was pouring rain on the way back. Well, congratulations on your daughter going to college, Ashley. And I'm glad you made it back safely, regardless of all the rain that you got. And Kermudge says, dinner is served. Oh, I'm jealous. I bet it's delicious. I'm going to have to check out your video when you get it posted, Rob, and see how that bake came along. And Bill is saying hi to Well, I'll be, and saying glad you're here. And Rob is saying to Ira, I do make my own ravioli at times. Well, I'm really far behind in comments. I do apologize, everybody. And Northern Cave Creations, how are you doing tonight? So glad you're here. Glad to see you again. And they're saying, I so badly want to do what you do, but I so badly want to do what you do, but I have to have some kind of income and no clue how to do it, as I'm not a YouTube kind of person. Yeah, I think you definitely have to have a certain mindset to be on YouTube, if you will. Because if you're like most people, which I'm one of those as well, don't get this wrong. Um you get in your day-to-day mindset, your day-to-day doldrums or whatever, and a lot of times I pick up the camera to start talking to it, and I'm like, dry, very dry, and I have to remind myself that that is not what people came to see. They don't come to see me going, so yeah, it's raining outside. But normally I am very giggly as too, so it's very easy for me to come out of that dry doldrums. But I do think that yeah, you have to be comfortable in front of the camera for one thing. And I know not everybody is. It's if you're shy or you don't um feel comfortable in front of the camera, that can be hard. But I am very fortunate that I'm able to make what I make off of YouTube. But let me tell you, it is not much. I am a penny pincher. So there is very little income coming in and very little expenses going out, thank goodness. But like I said, I am able to match my expenses for the most part to what my YouTube income is. But YouTube doesn't always cover it either, like because I took this last month off, next month will be harder. But make up for it where I can, for sure. So Jim in Alaska says, I don't live in Whittier anymore, but average snowfall is 20 feet. And Whittier is right there on the ocean, folks. So, yep, it is. The closer you get to the water, might be even more snowy than it is inland, for sure. Two Bear says, Ashley, okay, you would have just stayed on 90 all the way. I am 2 hours north of Syracuse, New York. I-81 north out of Syracuse, New York exit to 48, then 45 minutes more to the state highway to get to me. Well, now we all have a map to get to Two Bears, so we can all go check on him. And Norm said, good Lord, news just said temp in Virginia tomorrow will to be 98 degrees. It'll probably feel like 100. Everyone stay safe. You too, Norm. Absolutely stay safe. That is very, very warm. And I can only imagine. Oh my goodness. You guys need the fall to start and temperatures to start cooling off for you guys. Rob is saying to Adam and Phyllis, we know who else can go next year, lol. Yeah, that was my plan this year. I kept trying to say, hey, Adam and Phyllis, I need to talk to you. And then things got busy and I never got a chance to reach out and say, when are you guys going dip netting? I want to go dip netting with you. So next year, we all need to plan a trip together and go. That is for sure. Ashley says, Two Bears, yes, I was on a mission. Wish I had more time to explore. Did I get to Niagara Falls on the way, though? Or I'm hoping he's saying that he did get to go, did get to Niagara Falls on the way, though. There you go. That's good. And hello, Froggified. You changed your channel name. Hello and welcome back. Well, thank you very much. And I love the new name, even if I couldn't say it correctly at first. But thank you. And it's good to see you in the chat again. JR says, Alaska, saying this to Ed, the Ericsson Sky cranes are made just down the highway from me, is what JR is saying. And Adam and Phyllis are saying, absolutely. That's good to hear because I do want to go dip netting with you guys. Ed is giving a thumbs up to JR. And Christina, Oklahoma, Ohio, how are you doing? I'm so glad you made it here tonight. Nice to see you in the chat again. Who says hello, alone, and everyone? Well, hello, hello. And enigmatic Gwichin, hello, thank you. I cannot say your channel name. I do apologize. In if I just say it, it'll come out. Enigmatic Gwichin has a channel as well. So be sure to check them out. They are here in Alaska also. So I hope that you all will pay them a visit. Sorry about that. It's one of those things. If I think about it, I cannot say it. And Bill is saying hello as well. And so is Alaska Cut the Cord and Rob and Ashley. So we got all our salutations out of the way. And Bill has put up enigmatic Gwichin's channel link. Sorry about that again for everybody, but do be sure to pay them a visit and check them out and see everything that they have going on here in Alaska. And Norm says hi to Christina and to enigmatic. I'm never going to get it out correctly. And they're now saying, got the vid. So at home watching YouTube. Oh no, that's not good. I am so sorry to hear that. I hope that you recover quickly. I hope that you make it through without any complications whatsoever. That is not good. And Christina is saying hi to Norm. And Diana says, yes, cookbook. I'm making multiple peach cobblers right now. I'd love to see more of you baking on that wood stove as I'm looking to get a big one when we move. Well, I will definitely do some more baking on that wood stove for you guys and show you that as well. And enigmatic Gwichin is saying Donyon ConocoPhillips. That is who owns the oil drilling up in the northern slope. So the Donyon is one of the native corporations, and I'm probably not even saying that correctly. And then ConocoPhillips, everybody's probably familiar with. So if ConocoPhillips is part of OPEC, then so be it. But the first word here is one of the native corporations, the native tribes in Alaska. So Janice says, thank you, Alone, for answering my questions. Much appreciated. So happy Alaska is still drilling at least. Yes, we are too. And Bren says, great listening to chat. And thank you, Alone. It's great to see you. I'm heading out to explore and have a little adventure. Bye for now. Bye, Bren. Thank you again. I appreciate you being here with us tonight. And everyone, be sure to check out Bren's channel if you get a chance as well and follow along on all of her adventures in Australia. JR says, all you need to build a refinery in Alaska is about $1 billion, right? If only Alaska had that kind of money. Onto it, Aussie says, Alone, I will be sure to make my kids watch your how to edit videos. Then they have no excuse, right? There you go. Get them to watch and then get them to edit because we want to see what's going on with you for sure. And Ashley is saying goodnight to Brun, as is Bill. Enigmatic Gwichin says, sounds like the state is trying to open a new gasoline refinery. Well, there we go. That would be a good thing if it actually did happen. And Matthew says, black bear is good, but moose is better than any beef I've ever had. I think I would be afraid to eat the bear. Just because I know the bear is a carnivore, and also they have trichinosis, which is the same parasite that pork has. I'm not saying that I'm afraid to eat pork, but if you don't cook that bear right, you're going to wind up with that as well, or potentially. And that's pretty scary. But I have heard that bear is good eating nonetheless. And Bill is saying to JR, we have oil refineries, but it's a political issue as to why we don't refine our own gas and diesel. And Cheryl, how are you doing tonight? Cheryl are saying bears are scary. I agree. Bears are scary. Rob is saying, well, I know the pasta came out good. Sarah is having seconds. Well, there you go. That's the true test of whether or not your dish is good. JR says bears have seen that hog leg you carry around and they give you a wide berth. Yeah, obviously they're not coming around this year for sure. Ashley says, Kermudge, looking forward to the video. Antodossi says, well done, Rob, on the dinner, as well as Qantas canceled my flight. Oh, no, you won't be able to come over and have a bite of that bake. That's so sad. And Rainey Hammond, how are you doing tonight, Rainey? Rainey says, hello, all. Well, good to see you in the chat again, Rainey. So happy you're here. And Rob is saying, oh, sorry to Antodossi. Everyone's saying their salutations to Rainey. And JR says to Bill, those people tend to mess things up all the time. Yes, the ones that get involved in the politics and try to say what other people can and cannot have. Rob is saying OPEC is just a group that really sets the prices and such. They are not an oil dripping company or drilling company. Well, there you go. Now I know. Thank you for that, Rob. And Rob is saying hello to Big Eye Buckfoot or Buckeye Bigfoot. Oh my goodness, look at me going a mile a minute here, but not at the same time. Norm says ConocoPhillips is the only company drilling in Alaska. Only reason I know it is just saw it on the TV while they were talking about oil leases Biden has canceled. Oh my goodness. Cheryl says, are you really alone? Other than my dog, I am really alone. I live here by myself. I don't have anybody else living with me, and I like it that way. It's nice to be alone here. So, yep, just me, all by my lonesome. And Mary says, Google people, Google lol. Yeah, this is true. Sometimes we run interference for Google though on these live chats. And Rob is saying right to Daisy and Ed. I'm sure that's for something over an hour ago. Apologies. Wayne Sperling says it's not just expensive to live there, but also getting there. Correct. It is. I guess it's no place for the handicap. Well, it's no place for somebody who's on limited funds. Let me tell you that. As far as getting here, because they have said, if you're coming here, even if you think you're coming here to stay, buy a round trip ticket because you might find that you don't want to stay here after you get here, and then at least you'll have a ticket home. But if you buy a one-way ticket, you might find yourself stranded here and things very expensive and not being able to afford that ticket home. So I've definitely heard that one in the past. And Rainey says, anyone know if there are any expediter jobs in Alaska? I own a long van. I'm sure there are, but I couldn't tell you for sure. But hopefully someone else was able to answer your question, Rainey. And Rob is saying our taxes are under $200 a year. I'm sure he's talking about his property taxes. So that's good. At least your property taxes are not huge. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Hope they go away. Bill is saying to Rainey, what do you mean by expediter jobs? Matthew says, got to go to bed. Good night and best wishes. Good night, Matthew. Thank you for being with us tonight here in the chat. And we got everyone saying good night to Matthew. And Rainey says, Mercedes 170 wheelbase extended, I'm sure is what that means. And Bill is saying, don't know what kind of expediter jobs. Matthew is saying, love Buckeye Bigfoot and saying hi to Nance. That's good to hear. And Rainey is saying, okay. And Norm says, I have only made one mistake in my life. Then I found out I was right. Now I have pulled some really good screw ups. That is funny. Rainey says, like this. Well, thank you, Rainey. I appreciate that. And Mountain Truth One Deeds, appreciate you being here tonight, says the winters would suck a lot. Yeah, if you don't like snow, and you don't like that much snow or cold, I would say that, yeah, the winters here would not be pleasant for sure. Shannon, thank you for being here tonight. Shannon says, hi, Alone. Glad you got away to see some family. I know you probably already addressed this before, but when it comes to insurance, is it standard to have expensive on homes, vehicles, personal expensive? Um, I would say yes, and no at the same point. Um, trying to think how I could explain it. So on my vehicle is probably similar to what I paid in Colorado. And my home is probably just as expensive as what I was paying for full coverage on my home in Colorado with um, uh, liability and, having a binder on all my belongings and things like that. Where here, all I have is a dwelling replacement, and it is costing me just as much. But the difference between the two is in Colorado, the way my insurance policy read, at least the way I read it to read, was that it would cover up to a certain percentage of my home would be covered in the replacement value of my home. So it was like if the market value of my home was, say, 100 grand, then they would cover 40 grand of that. And you were on the line for the replacement value of the rest. Here, they're looking at the true replacement value of my home on today's market. Um, Not saying what is my home in its current condition worth, where the last one was based upon the current condition of my home. This one is saying, what would it cost me to build a home of a similar size in today's market? And that's what they base the insurance on. So therefore it is expensive. It is absolutely um, way more than I thought it would be for what it is, for sure. But I don't know about personal property insurance because I don't have that, actually, to be honest with you. And Annette is saying, was picking it up from the repair shop. It was something really simple. This is regarding her son's motorcycle to repair and didn't cost him very much. Well, that is good to hear, Annette. I appreciate that. And there is Ignomatic Gwichin's channel link for everybody. Be sure to pay them a visit and wish them well as they recover from the vid. We want them to get well soon for sure. And good night, Matthew Kelly. I hope you sleep well tonight. And thank you for being with us. And Bill is saying to Shannon, a lot of people don't have homeowners insurance because their homes are uninsurable, and such as mine. That's why I have dwelling replacement insurance. And there are only a few companies in Alaska that will even do that for you. So you have to really do your homework and get your research done in order to find those companies. And JR is saying goodnight to Matthew. And there is Rob's channel link over at the Curmudgeon Inn. Be sure to check them out and check out their latest videos. Rushing Wind Mountain says, okay, good to know about the summer and the winter. Thanks. You are welcome. And G-Man77 Gas, how are you doing tonight? So good to see you again. G-Man says, I see a lot of black bear here in northern Wisconsin. I bet you do. My son had made a comment. I was watching back on the old interview that I did with him last year when he was here, and he was saying something about loving to go hiking where he doesn't have to fear a grizzly bear. And I was thinking, but you live in Colorado. There are bears everywhere. Yeah, there are bears everywhere in Colorado, but not necessarily grizzly bears. So yeah, but there are black bears, throughout Wisconsin and Colorado and Minnesota and the Dakotas and New Mexico. And, so bears are everywhere. Unfortunately, they are everywhere, including Florida. Florida has quite a problem with bears. But stay safe nonetheless, G-Man, for sure. And Mary L says, what happens if you have a medical emergency or your dog needs a vet? What is your plan when you can't take care of yourself when you are very old? Um, I don't have one. Maybe in that way I'm ill prepared or reckless or living on the edge, but I don't have one. In fact, I would say that's probably the most of people in the world is they probably don't have a plan for when they're really, really old. But who knows? Things could change. I mean, maybe I'll meet someone and down the road, and maybe I'll live with someone in the future. Who knows? That might happen. Um, Will I leave my property though? No. Am I going to go live in a nursing home? No. I can tell you that I am very stubborn when it comes to things like that. And I also have some medical in my background. I have some veterinary care in my background, so I can tend to can I do a surgery in a sterile environment? No. Could I do surgery on myself? Absolutely not. Like that would not happen. Could I stitch myself? Yes. Can I cast a broken bone? Yeah, I might not get it set correctly, but I could. So there are a lot of things I could do for myself here. But yeah, I plan on aging in place for sure. And, when it comes to Kenai needing a vet, we'll deal with that when the day comes. But knock on wood, that so far he hasn't needed one. So, um, and Alberta Powell, how are you doing tonight? Alberta says, "Hi from Alabama. Love your videos. I admire your bravery living alone in Alaska. My husband and I watch your videos. Stay safe, Alberta and Ronnie." Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you joining us in the chat tonight. I really appreciate your comment about saying that I'm brave. I think sometimes I'm just more stubborn than anything. Bill is saying to Mary, some people pay a fee to have life flight on call. This is true. There's Guardian Health Insurance or Guardian, and I forget what the other one is, that could helicopter out to you directly if need be, or as close to you as possible. Others just know that they are SOL if something happens. The one thing here is that I happen to know the volunteer fire chief, um, and he is on my uh, daisy chain of people. I have a whole like group chat thing on my phone where I can send out a text to him and a bunch of people who live in the community and say, "Hey, I need help," and within a matter of minutes, somebody could be here if need be. So that is one other thing that, in case of an emergency, I do have a support network in the area that could come out and help if need be. And Rob is saying hello to Alberta and her husband. And Antoadasi says home insurance in Australia bill has become unaffordable. A friend got a renewal of $9,000 above the previous amount. Oh my goodness. This was prior to our massive flood too. Yikes. Who can afford that? Like, I think sometimes insurance is a scam. I hate to say it, but I think at times it is a scam. Um, I have gone at points in my life where I didn't have health insurance and I would still go to the doctor. And I would find that going to the doctor wasn't any more expensive out of pocket than it was when I was on, a plan where you had to pay a deductible to see the doctor. And a lot of times they would give you the medications for free. They wouldn't even send you to a pharmacy. They'd just be like, here's what I need you to take. Here's 2 weeks supply. See ya. So for, the $20 or sometimes it was $60 to go see the doctor and you get the medication. Sorry, there's a gnat flying around in here. Um, it really wasn't that bad to not have insurance. But then at other times you have insurance and you don't ever use it. And the one time you file a claim, they cancel your policy or they raise your rates as she's showing on the homeowner's insurance. So insurance is a tough game, that's for sure. And JR is saying, welcome, welcome to Alberta. I agree. Welcome, welcome. And Rob is saying, oh my God, that is nuts, to Antodasi's comment about the insurance. Bill is saying that sucks. I agree. I think it's outrageous. Antodasi says she thought so too, Rob and Bill. Sorry, Kenai's scratching himself and hitting his collar. She didn't renew, couldn't afford it, and then lost the house in the flood, unfortunately. Oh my goodness. Just like Minnie did. That that is so concerning. Oh my goodness. Bill is saying to Rob, I'm digging up some stumps tomorrow afternoon for my neighbor. That is a lot of work, even if you are using your equipment to do so, Bill. Yikes. And Antodasi is saying that is the willow spirit, Bill. Yes, it is for sure. And Bill is saying, my neighbor got another roadkill moose. Might get a little from it, hopefully. Well, I hope you do. That'd be a nice trade-off for the work that you're doing. And Antodasi is saying, lucky you. And Ashley is saying, Bill, hope you do. With that, though, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's live stream. I know that I'm still 30 minutes behind in the comments, but I want to say thank you to everybody that was on here tonight. And I want to say thank you to my moderators, Bill at Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead, and JR, and Rob and Sarah over at Curmudgeon Inn. And I want to welcome you guys to go check out their channels along with Alaska Cut the Cord and Enigmatic, and even who I just see popped in here at the last moment too, Rustic Log Cabin Life. Hiya, Tony. How you doing? Say hi to Big T for me if you go over there. But I want to say thank you to everybody. And if I didn't get to your comment or if I didn't say hello to you tonight, please know that I will go through the chat here after I end the live stream and read through everybody's comments. But thank you again for hanging out with me tonight. I look forward to seeing you on the next live stream, which will be sometime next month. And be sure to check out my video that'll be out later this week. In the meantime, stay safe and take care. And again, thank you everybody for hanging out with me tonight.